back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, March the 2nd, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Shaking?
How are you tonight?
Good. I'm better lit.
There you go.
You are better lit. You're much more entertaining.
You're much more entertaining when you're lit. There you go.
And not in the usual alcoholic way.
Oh. You're actually literally talking about lighting.
Yeah,
Well, speaking
sorry.
of that, I'm going to drink if you don't mind. So, going to
I
have
think I'm out of coffee.
As long as I can't see it, it's fine.
There you go. I'm going to have a Bell's Brewing Best Brown Ale. Why the hell
Sounds
not?
like a tongue twister.
Bell's
It's a
Brewing
lot
Best,
of B's and then an A at the end.
Bell's Brewing Best Brown Ale. There you go.
Mm.
And I'm pouring it into my Rising Tide brewing glass. So there you go. Oh, wait, this is not the beer show, is it not? Oh, sorry about that.
God, I hope not.
I got confused. Where's Dave? Samurai. Anyway.
If it was the beer show, we'd definitely have to talk about hockey.
That's true.
This is true. Yeah, I'm hockeying it up tonight.
Honkying it up tonight?
Or hawking. You got
I'm hockeying
chest
it up
cold?
tonight. A little bit of Flemish. So
There's a little bit of Flemish.
there you go. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
I
All
have
right.
water.
Water's good. Water works. I thought you were drinking coffee. You just said.
There's nothing in there. It was one sip.
Gotcha.
I drank the rest of it today.
All gone. So, well, let's see. What do we got to talk about? Well, there's still no deal in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, the deadline's passed. No season. It's over. We don't have to
gone.
talk about it anymore.
No.
I told you it's going to be
right to football.
end of June, beginning of July before we
We can
have a season.
fill our talk with USFL once that starts. So
We still got plenty of basketball.
This is true.
All right,
It's
so
way more interesting than which backup catcher is going to make the Marlins.
This is true.
which so each team's first two series of the regular season will not be played.
That is correct.
So that's it.
correct.
That's where we're at right now.
The first two series have been canceled. Now, for the Mets, that means 3 home games against the Nationals and 2 home games against the Braves.
Well, those won't come into play later.
No, not at all.
No.
And
So
and for the
regular
Yankees,
season will begin no earlier than April 7th.
It's gonna begin at the end of June.
and then for the Yankees, that means 4 away games against the Rangers and 3 away games against the Astros. Is what that means for the Yankees.
The new and improved Texas Rangers.
The new and improved
Hey,
Texas Rangers.
Always good. Houston Astros. Garbage cans.
And the
all.
ABC always be cheating Astros.
They bought the plastic ones, so they can hear them from the dugout, but they really can't hear them in the stands. So they're muffled a little bit. They got a mute on them, like a trumpet mute. They got
Nice.
So.
Nice.
Did
working
what's our assistant's name? Jimmy.
Jimmy?
Jimmy. Yeah.
Did Jimmy track down our predictions for the start of the season?
He did not. He did not.
Okay.
He looked all over and he could not find them. They're somewhere, but he's got to look. He's got to look further.
You guys were more optimistic. I pushed into June.
Yeah, I said May 1st. I know I said May 1st. I'm not sure what Pete said. And
I said June.
No, one of you said like a
20
week after the regular season normally starts.
Oh, that wouldn't have been me.
no,
would
maybe,
be-
it was me. I thought I said May 1st, but maybe I said.
No, I think I said May 1st.
Maybe I don't know.
All right. Well, none of us think it's going to start till at least May at this point.
Well, they're gonna start meeting again on tomorrow. They're gonna meet again tomorrow. So, but here's my thing. Let me ask you guys both this question really quick. You listen to Scherzer talk and a few other people talk from the Players Association, and then you listen to Manfred talk. Now, I mean, the easy rule of thumb is that you want to hate Manfred, right? And rightfully so, because he's Rob Manfred. But
Only if you're Goose Gossage.
well, this is true, right? But however, listening to both sides, I don't think either of them really give a shit. I really don't. I mean, they make a good case for each other, but I'm not buying that either of them really care that the season wasn't going to start on time.
What is, if you could sum it up into, I know this is hard, but sum it up into 2 sentences. What are the big sticking points with this?
Money.
Well, I understand that, but what? But elaborate.
I think from what I've seen, and Pete can weigh in too. I think from what I've seen, it's the mid-range teams and the lower-range teams. They want that luxury tax lowered because it's just too big of a discrepancy, disparity, whatever you want to call it.
Both, actually.
Both discrepancy and disparity. Yeah. Between what the the upper echelon teams. Clearly, the Mets are involved in that now with Steve Cohen's money and everything else. And just going over the luxury tax and spending that extra money and killing it. And these small market teams can't compete.
They want the luxury tax maximum lower.
They want the luxury tax maximum lowered. So they want the luxury tax expanded a little bit. So
because the teams with deeper pockets can afford the tax penalties paying. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
Yeah, and everything else seems just like minor little points that should have been.
Well,
the rest of it's almost like profit sharing.
Yeah.
No, I think for the players, the earlier arbitration is something they really want.
Well, they want to have every opportunity that James Harden has. They want to be able to negotiate out of the 7-year contract they signed halfway into their first year.
Oh.
Right.
So
after 3 games, they want to opt out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, no, or they want to. If they have a good year, they want to get more money than they're contractually obligated to get paid.
And if they have a really shitty year, then we'll just pay them far less.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it works both ways.
That's not part of the. No, it doesn't work both ways.
If I have a really great year, you got to double my salary. But if I have a really shitty year, I still need the same money.
That's the thing.
Do you know how you make more money?
I don't think
you make it to the playoffs and win a championship. That's how you make more money.
Right.
I don't think it's a permanent thing, though. In other words, I don't think they're saying, "Well, I'm under contract for what's the rookie deal? 5 years."
5, yeah, with arbitration as 2 of the year, 1 of the years or 2 of the years, or maybe it's 6. I'm not sure. It's somewhere in there now.
So I'm under contract for 5 years. I've for $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
I've outplayed my contract. I've had a great year, been a contributor, whether we went to the playoffs, whatever.
Sure.
Right.
You owe me more money.
Right.
But then I think that next year they're still under the same contract. I don't think it permanently goes up.
Why don't they just have a 5-year rookie contract with an escalator every year?
Here's an idea: incentives. I mean, it's the same thing, right?
All the incentives would have to be the same. Here's
why you'd have to have standardized.
Here's why I like rookie contracts, because during rookie contracts in any sport now, it's the only time when you can build a team. Because the minute that rookie contract is over, I would say at least 75% of the time, that person's gone.
Right.
So that team's over. So in the days of being able to be rewarded for having a good farm system or making good personnel decisions or drafting well, you don't, the owners, the teams don't necessarily reap those rewards anymore. So I'm both sides. I get where they're coming from. My whole thing is have a baseline, but a rookie should, in theory, get better in the first 5 years, right? Doesn't always happen. Some people have their best year, their rookie season. Mm-hmm. A lot of that has to do with the fact that sometimes the competition doesn't know much about them. And a lot of times they're for some of these guys and gals, they're reaching their potential, their highest, they're in baseball, they could be 20, 23, 24 years old, and they might be at their physical peak.
Right.
So, and then they haven't had the wear and tear of a major league sports season. And so that's not racking up on them. So yeah, they should just have a basic escalator, and you have to meet a baseline of improvement every year to get that. And I think that's fair. And I think we can hammer that out in about 2 hours. So there you go.
Maybe the 3 of us should fly down to Jupiter, Florida and figure this out.
Yeah. If I'm a player, though, one of the things that the players are, the arbitration is because they feel like the ownership / management of the team will send players down. They'll use service time to keep guys from reaching that threshold where, okay, well, now you're officially in the league, what they call the 2+ year, right? Mm-hmm. They've been in the league for 3 years, but they haven't been in the majors, spend enough time to qualify for that arbitration. So if I'm a player, I'm like, well, now the ownership's just going to do that. and I'm not going to get the playing time, and I'm not going to be able to reach those incentives.
If you're a good enough player and you're not getting sent back down to the minors.
Well, but what if you're good enough in some areas to reach some of those incentives?
Then you don't deserve a bigger contract than what the rookies are getting.
So are you going to suggest that every player has to improve? Has to literally be an improved 5-tool player?
No, because they're going to get paid no matter what. They could suck and continue to suck and get really sucky and fuck up.
Well, in order to reach that next echelon.
Well, I think it could be like let's say for a pitcher, okay. Let's say that you have
all they have to do is pitch. They don't have to hit or anything anymore.
Right. So there's 2 or 3 factors that go in, and it's staggered. So if you win more than 10, between 10 and 12 games, you get X amount more. If you win over 12 games, you get X amount more. Right. Okay. If your ERA is under 4, you get a certain bump. If it's under 375, you get another bump. If it's under 350, you get another bump.
Right. But along with that, you have to have
minimum number of games played.
Yeah, you've got to have minutes. So now the owner goes, well, we're not really in it. This guy's pitching really well, but we suck. So he's got 11 wins, and there's 3 weeks left in the season.
But nobody's going to do that.
That's what they do now.
Yeah, well, they do that.
That's exactly what they do now. They send guys down so that they don't meet that next year, and they're not eligible for arbitration.
But they're still getting
themselves money.
Well, then they just need to get rid of that. If you have more games if you've played a majority or more than a third of the season in major leagues, then that counts as a full season. That counts as
furthermore, and I think there's some. I mean, there's timing where they can be sent down. They have the ability to be sent down, obviously, when they're on the rookie contracts. But once you've been called up to the majors, by a certain point. Obviously, the whole thing was like if you get called up at the beginning of the season, that year counts towards your service time. If you get called up after May 1st, it doesn't count towards your service time.
Which doesn't make sense.
Which doesn't make sense. But so that could be removed. But even if it's in there, it doesn't mean that if you come up the following year after May 1st, it still doesn't count. So they're just going to bring you up after May 1st every year, and you're stuck on the rookie contract for 30 years?
Well, I mean, if you're on a rookie contract
it's just it's just the first time. That's it.
Okay, but
once you're brought up,
then you're right.
You're on your way.
You could be toiling away in the minors for another.
Makes no sense.
Years.
They should not have. If you get signed by the Giants or Jets, even if you're on the practice squad, you're still getting paid, and it's still counting towards your contract.
Well, it's your rookie
big thing
contract.
In the NBA.
Well, yeah, but that's the point the players are making. That time, if you don't get called up before May 1st.
That needs to change.
It doesn't.
We disagree. That needs to change.
Yeah,
it needs to change.
It's easy to say, but the owners don't want to give that up. That's why this is a major sticking point.
Look, here's a note to the owners, okay? Especially those owners in Kansas City and Colorado and other places. If you want these people to stay with your team or have any chance of having them for more than 3 or 4 years, then treat them well.
Right.
And for players, don't be greedy cunts. That's the end of the discussions. Okay? Because you're getting paid a lot of money to play a fucking game.
Yeah, but
end of discussion.
How does that ever happen?
It always happens. They come to agreements all the time, and people give one way or the other. Look, the NFL and the NBA have given far more. And granted, it's still not perfect, and most players will complain about how they're treated. I get it. Whatever side you're on, you're gonna think that you're never compensated enough. But the NBA, they shouldn't even have. I mean, they shouldn't even have coaches anymore or owners. It's just pick your teams. Oh, well, I don't know. I'll trade you. It's like schoolyard.
Boy.
It's a schoolyard.
Very salty tonight, John.
I just can't stand the power that these multi-millionaires have in picking. They just, at the whim of their little precious little egos, they just decide the fate of major sports franchises by themselves because they have that power. And that's what baseball wants. They see it in other sports, and that's what they want. And they want to get paid quicker. I get it. Are you not making money?
Right.
Cleveland Indians, are you not making money?
I mean,
if you're not making money, then you're not a business.
You have to understand, though, okay? Some of these players that are making these ridiculous salaries. Some of them only have 10 cars.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's a shame. It really is. Like, and only 4 houses, only 4 homes. I mean, it's really a shame. I mean, they really need to look at this a little bit better.
And here's the other thing: is that if you don't reach those goals in year 4 and 5 or 3 and 4, then you don't get any of those. You don't get. It's not a guarantee. You don't get any more of that. And vice versa. If you want to go down to the minors to snap out of a slump or rehab or whatever, guess what, buddy? Still counts as your time. So,
yeah, because there's a reason they're going down to do. I mean, they could stay up and stay in the slump, or they can go down and work it out and figure it out and come back. It benefits the team. So why should it not benefit the player?
It's the same. It's the same as
want to go down.
No. It's the same as hiring an accountant. Okay. Kathy's really good year 1. They give her a raise, and then all of a sudden, for whatever happened, Kathy can't add 2 and 3. And then the next year, Kathy makes even more mistakes. And the next year after that, Kathy continues to even make more mistakes. So instead of firing Kathy, they send her down to the subsection of the accounting team for a year.
Of the accounting.
That's right. So that when she can come up, she can have the equivalent of a 146 batting average with 12 home runs and 79 errors. Still making the money that she got when she was a star recruited accountant 5 years ago.
Sure, and that applies to everything. Wouldn't
that be nice? That's what everybody in the workforce wants right now.
Right.
You really suck at hanging drywall. So instead of me firing you, I'm going to pay for you to go, work in an empty room practicing hanging drywall for 3 years.
But you got to ride a bus to get there.
I see both sides of this.
Well, the bottom line is it doesn't seem like they're any closer.
The bottom line is I play 40 games. Who cares? It's just somebody's just gonna fabricate a team at the trade deadline, and it doesn't matter anyway.
Let's all go play. They have scabs. Let's go play. Let's go.
This is what I wanted to ask you, guys, because I feel like we had abbreviated seasons because of COVID, right?
Right.
One.
Well, in multiple sports.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like that sort of opened up the door for a lot of people who go, yeah, I don't really need 162 games. I'd love to have 162 games. And there's going to be always people that – but I think people go, yeah, if we have 80, I'm fine with that.
You're talking fans. You're talking fans.
Yeah. I'm talking about the fans.
See, I need 162 games.
I'm fine with that. That was still exciting. We had a pretty exciting playoffs. We had a pretty exciting World Series, all this stuff. So,
I need opening day at the beginning of April.
I think the pandemic kind of opened people.
You'd go. You would enjoy opening day if it was May.
Yeah. No, I will. Yeah. But I like it. I like it when it's supposed to be.
Well, but it's not when it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be April 1st.
Here's what I like about baseball.
I
like baseball from April 15th to May 1st. And then I like it again from August 19th to October.
Right.
So just, how often do you it's like, all right.
But I think this kind of apathy on the part of fans, or this lack of a need for the full season.
Right.
Like, we know what it's like. And was it really so terrible?
People don't really watch sports for a loyalty or a fandom to a team anymore. The sports that are doing better are teams that can get people's attention through their phone by letting them place bets on weird things every other day.
How many swings will it take to get a hit in the third inning by the fourth batter?
And baseball is not quite as like basketball is the most popular because there's so many players and different stats. Baseball is not as popular as football. Football is sort of in the middle. So, when I'm telling you this, I see this with
basketball lends itself to the parlay better than any other.
Absolutely. And I see this with people who are, young millennials or Gen Z. They don't even really know much about sports, but this is getting them into sports.
Right.
It's the next coming of fantasy.
Right.
Fantasy took away team rooting and made it player rooting based on Oh, but speaking of John, have you heard the I don't know, whatever the new New York sports book with the announcer with this voice?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Oh my! Could they have picked the worst guy to do that?
I know. I know. I mean, they could have called either one of us. I mean, we would
It's
have
just terrible.
honestly,
New York sports books is now in place with I'm a fucking New Yorker. Call now and get some sports.
it's the guy's brother or cousin or something.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Just,
Some family.
It sounds like an old bookie.
It does.
Right.
It's like it's totally a caricature, and it's terrible.
Yeah. It's a caricature of the New Yorker accent, which does exist, but
no, I think it's
a minority and not a majority.
It's a genuine accent and a genuine voice. It's just the wrong choice
for that. Absolutely.
For any sort of advertisement. And I don't mean you have to have the announcer voice, but not that guy.
And speaking of websites that you said, basketball lends itself to the parlay, right?
Yeah.
But don't you have like a parlay on your OnlyFans page too?
It's called a subparlay.
Subparlay.
Well, when
it's half off on Wednesdays.
When we have cooking involved on the channel, then it's a parlay. It's a parboil or a parbake lay.
I gotcha.
Either way, it's messy.
It's half off on Wednesdays. Everything's off on Sundays, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything's off as long as you pay.
Different day, it's a different half off. Sometimes it's a vertical half off. Sometimes it's a horizontal half off.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, I don't. All right. Let's. You know what? I know we said what we said, and whatever it was, whether I was the one, we'll have to look for that. Jimmy,
repick.
Let's repick right now. Right now, based on what they've done so far, based on the deadline that they imposed of yesterday at 5:00 that they passed without a deal in place. When do we think right now at this point in time? We can, if we find the other times, we'll rematch it. But based on that information right now, let's go around. When do you think they'll have a deal in place and baseball will start? So we'll start with Pete.
I'm going to stick with May 1st. I think that's what I said.
I'm putting it right on the sheet right here. Pete, May 1st. All right, Harry?
What did I text you? What did I say? May 48th or something like that?
You said May 48th.
Okay.
You commented May 48th, so that would be June 17th.
Okay. I know that's overshooting, but I'm going to go with that. May 48th.
May 48th. So May.
Because I'm just going to cast deep in because,
June 17th. Okay. All right. May 48th. I'm actually going to be. I will be a little more optimistic. I don't think it's going to go. Look, if they're going to go like week by week and take away a couple of series to get through another week, I don't think this thing's going another month to get to May. So I'm going to say April 18th. No, it would be 7th, April 22nd, 21st, April 21st. So I'm going April 21st.
All right, there we go.
April 21st. That's my guess.
All right. See you guys in June.
All right. We'll see. And so Pete is May 1st. Harry is May 48th. And I am April 21st.
No, let me just.
That's the start.
Let me just. The players are still getting paid, right? Oh, yes.
No.
Well,
no.
They're not getting paid at all.
They're not getting paid till baseball.
When? So a pro athlete only gets paid paychecks during the actual season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a separate pay for
postseason.
Postseason, yeah. They don't get it for spring training.
I didn't know. I thought it was broken up throughout the year.
Unless they get, they might get a stipend for spring training. I'm not really sure. I think it's just the regular season. But if the regular season's not starting March 31st, and it's starting on April 7th, right now they're losing a week of pay. And if it goes another week, they're losing another week of pay. So the longer this goes, they're losing money. They are. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot, but
more, yeah.
And the owners are losing more than the players. But everybody's losing money. Everybody that's sitting at that table right now, with the exception of Rob Manfred, is losing money. He's not losing money.
Well, they're being advised by Kyrie, so it's
sure, absolutely.
Well, listen, the fans are not losing money.
Fans are saving money.
Yeah,
unless you have season tickets.
Yeah, well, no, and everybody's talking about that too on a couple of the sites. They're saying they're all right, like the Mets, like for instance, I've seen they're saying that 9 times out of 10 when they cancel these games, the Mets are giving them credit to games next season or something like that. No, no, you're not going to let me go to these games that I had. That's 5 games that they canceled right now, 5 home games. I want my money back right now for those 5 games. You refund me my money for those 5 games right now. Done.
All right, tough guy.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. They're saying that on every one of them. There's not one that's like, whatever, And I'm sure it's going to come down to that. But anyway.
If I had Yankee season tickets, I'd be like, all right, you refund me that money unless you get yourself a new catcher. Then I'll let you keep it.
There you go. On another note, beyond that, Mets made a new hire in the front office. On the front office, yeah. They hired Elizabeth Ben as the director of Major League Operations.
Well, good for her.
She's the director of Major League Operations. Here's a rundown of her five things to know about New York Mets' new director of baseball operations. 1, obviously, it's a historic hire. Being named to her new position, Ben becomes the highest-ranking female executive in the Mets' 60-year history. She was a player too.
How many other female executives have there been in the Mets' 60-year history?
I'm probably none. I don't think, but there's a couple. There was
I'm sure there were a couple.
No. There was the woman that's on that was with A-Rod on ESPN Sunday night baseball a couple of years ago. She was on the Mets front office staff a couple of years ago. I forget her name. She was a player. She was the first woman to play in the New York City Metro Baseball League as a pitcher. She has Major League Baseball experience. She has previously worked for Major League Baseball, having most recently served in baseball operations. She's got a philosophy background, and she also is a graduate of the University of Toronto and served as an adjunct lecturer at Lehman College. So there you go. That's just to get to know your new director of baseball operations for the Mets, Elizabeth Ben. There you go.
There's a director of baseball operations to make sure that you don't pull a George Costanza and get the wrong uniform.
George Costanza was the director of baseball operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she gets the calzones.
Let's not forget about Jonathan Strangio.
Yes.
Who's the new VP of baseball operations. Nate Horowitz, the senior director of player personnel, and Nick Spar as the director of baseball operations. And Steve Martone as a special assistant.
Well, if we had anybody listening, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
There you go. And these are, these are all. I don't know where they came from, but
I'm not sure either.
They have probably
check their LinkedIn pages. We'll have links in the show notes.
Exactly. So, anyway, all right, moving on. That should wrap up baseball at this point. I think we're good there. Anything else you have?
Yeah, these are all Epler's guys.
These are all Epler's guys. These are all Billy Epler's guys.
Shortly after his arrival in Anaheim, Epler promoted Strangio to assistant GM. Horowitz was named as the Angels pro scouting director. Spar, baseball ops assistant for the Angels from January 2019 until the conclusion of last year. Martone spent 9 years in the Yankees organization, where Epler served as one of his mentors. Right. So these are his guys that he knows, and
these are his guys he knows. He bring them with him. Yeah, he just there you go.
Yeah, and that's what
as long as they work. That's what they do. Yeah, they all do that. They all do that. Yeah. So all right.
He feels comfortable.
He does. A little comfy. All right. I don't think there's any other baseball we need to talk about. So
nope.
Before we get to basketball, though, I did want to talk about the combine is going on. Nobody from the Jets, not nobody from the Jets. I'm sure Joe Douglas is there, but Rob Saleh did not go to the combine. However, Brian Dable and Joe Shane are both at the combine, and I actually have a little quiz for you guys. I don't need to talk about the combine or much NFL right now, but I got a little
combine quiz.
It's a combine quiz.
Our quiz is going to be
no. Our quiz is basketball, but I got.
This is not the official quiz.
This is not the official quiz.
Okay. This is 6 combines. We got to keep 4.
Just no.
I'll take the John Deere 1106 harvester.
All right. So here we go.
The NFL combine.
Take the combination number 3.
And the
it's
Popeye's chicken sandwich and Cajun fries combine.
Exactly. I'll have that one.
Those are my.
All right. There you go. All right. Here we go. Which of these players had the highest vertical jump in the combine? Now, not necessarily the highest vertical jump ever, just of these 4 players.
Gotcha.
Who had the highest vertical jump? All right.
Okay.
Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Tim Tebow, or Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald. You say Aaron Donald. Pete, what do you say?
I'm sure it's
Who was
somebody
the
that
second
makes
guy?
no sense.
It's Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Tim Tebow, or Aaron Donald.
I'll say Le'Veon Bell.
You are both wrong.
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow had the highest vertical jump.
Well, he was jumping for Jesus.
There you go. That's good. What you call it? Here we go. Along with Ryan Tannehill and Joe Burrow, which eventual Pro Bowl quarterback had a hand size measurement of only 9 inches. In other words, a small hand.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, or Teddy Bridgewater?
Aaron Rodgers.
All right.
I'll say Goff.
You are correct, Pete. Jared Goff. Jared Goff has a small hand.
I seem to remember that.
There you go.
That was news,
Yeah, this is
unfortunately.
true. All right.
How do you measure your hand from your elbow to your fingertip?
Exactly. And it was only 9 inches. That's it. All right.
It's like a pterodactyl.
There you go. And one and the third one. Here we go. Just doing 3. Here we go. I got like 6 of them, but I want to do 3. We'll just do this one. Which player recorded the fastest 40-yard time for any running back to weigh in at 240 pounds or more? I'll read it again. Which player recorded the fastest 40-yard time for any running back to weigh in at 240 pounds or more? Here we go. Derrick Henry, Mike Tolbert, Leonard Fournette, or Mike Allstott?
I don't know.
Derek
Mike Allstott.
I'll say Fournette.
Once again, Pete, you are correct. Leonard Fournette. There you go.
I know my fat running backs.
You know your combine quiz notes. There you go. All right. There you go. All right. There you go. Just wanted to. That was a couple of these were on Good Morning Football the other day, and I was like, we got to put these on. These
Is
are
it Good Morning Football?
Good Morning Football. Yeah, on NFL.
Is that the guy with the big ears?
No. It's usually hosted by Kay Adams.
Kay Adams.
Kay Adams, yes.
The guy with the big ears.
The guy with the big
describes
ears,
a bunch of guys on TV.
No.
No, you would know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
NFL
it's not him. He's on the NFL Network, but he is not on that show.
His theme music is "Come Fly with Me."
There we go.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sure you're
Which we call it.
very
And
talented.
Samurai weighed in on the locker room. Dave Cichon, hey guys, and then he said, bye guys. There you go.
Fantastic.
All right.
Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to bring them up. Yeah, no, Kay Adams,
Doubling our live audience.
Peter Schrager.
Oh boy.
Oh, who the hell is it? But
If I ever find myself watching
it's a good
Good
show.
Morning,
No,
NFL,
it's a good show. It's a good show.
Please shoot me.
It's a good show. It really is.
But then I would miss all the misinformation of all the guys who were on ESPN.
This is true. So
Yeah, I don't want to know what really is happening. I want to know what the clickbaiters are saying.
exactly.
That's much more interesting stuff.
I don't know what Kendrick Perkins has to say about
Exactly.
the NFL.
It's funny. All right. So I'll wrap up football. So let's, you know what? I'm going to change the background. We didn't do it last week, so I'm going to change the background because we're switching over to basketball. There we go. All right. Let's kick off basketball with the quiz. The quiz of the week.
The
Last
quiz.
week the quiz. Last
we
week
need
we
a
did.
theme for the quiz, don't we?
We got to do a theme. Yeah, I think we're gonna. Let's put one together and we'll do it next week.
All right. I'll get the boy on it.
Get him on it.
Our official.
Our
themist.
official. Exactly. Themist. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think that's a good title. All right. Last week we did best NBA centers. This week we're gonna do best NBA power forwards of all time. I'm gonna give you 6. 4 stay, 2 got to go. All right. Ready?
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Get ready to write them down. If you want to write them down, I will give you a minute to find a.
I'm all good. Fire away.
I moved my printer, by the way.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Now I have easy access to
Easy access to plain.
nearly a ream and a half of paper.
There you go. And that's not
So,
a word you
just
want to say
stop.
except for on your OnlyFans page. So,
Well, that's
there you go. Anyway, all right, here we go. Best NBA power forwards. I'm giving you 6. 4 going to stay 2 to go. Here we go. Tim Duncan. Timothy Duncan. All right. The Mailman. Mr. Carl. Kevin Garnett. Dirk Nowitzki. Giannis, and I'll give you 3 extra points if you spell his last name correctly.
Okay.
Can't we just say it correctly?
No, you got to spell it right. You got to hold it up.
It's a lot of A's.
A lot of A's. There you go.
Or
Actually, there's only one A in his last name. But
like to buy a vowel.
there you go. And Sir Charles.
Ooh.
There you go. So Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Charles Barkley. Pete, kick it off.
All right, Nowitzki's out.
All right.
What?
I love this. I actually look forward to this every
He
week.
won championship, and he was
With no one.
a soft European
He
player.
beat LeBron.
Okay.
And,
He had
no
one. He had one good year.
He beat the first dream team by himself. I mean, your argument doesn't hold up for somebody else has to be out then if one championship doesn't get you in there.
Right, exactly.
Three other guys are out.
He's also, European, so.
Like Antetokounmpo is
No,
not.
he's not. Greece doesn't count.
No, it's not. No.
What he meant to say is he's white.
Right.
Where is Dirk Nowitzki from? What country?
Germany.
Yeah, evil Germany.
Well, they're not so evil right now.
Well, he doesn't play right now.
They weren't evil when he played. He didn't play during World War II.
They were still a kind of evil.
No, they weren't. They were probably the most progressive economy in the world at that time.
And
I gotta do this. That's great.
the mailman's gone. Fuck him.
He's like second all-time in points scored.
Okay, what did he ever win?
Yeah. Well, Barkley didn't win anything either, and the mailman has way better numbers than Barkley.
Yeah, but Charles is Charles, man.
All right. So
Malone was just like
right.
he was like a caricature.
Caricature?
Yeah, the staid, stolid. Please,
All right.
whatever. Run the pick and roll and get bogged down in the playoffs and
Get
lose
bogged out of the playoffs. Yeah.
again.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Michael Jordan being able to push off a Utah Jazz defender into the lane and shoot a shot, they would have won a championship.
Okay, well, but Michael Jordan earned that right by being the greatest player ever.
There you go. So he gets special. Right. So
So
Tim,
I'll
you're
go
going with Tim Duncan.
I'll go with Duncan, Garnett, Giannis, the European, and Charles.
There you go. All right, Harry.
Well, Garnett is off this list. Doesn't even deserve to be mentioned in the same breath. That guy couldn't win a damn thing until he joined at the end of his career, joined up with all his buddies. The most overrated player in the history of the NBA, Kevin Garnett, better actor than he is basketball player. So he's gone.
He's out.
For right now, I'm going to take Giannis off. Now, that might change. I might have to make a tougher decision, but he's still playing, and the verdict, we don't know. Hopefully,
I almost did too.
Hopefully he has a wonderful career, and hopefully he wins another 2 or 3 championships, and could arguably then rival Tim Duncan for the best power forward of all time. Duncan is the best of all time. Malone is second. Dirk is probably third, and Barkley's maybe fourth or fifth.
Right.
So I'm gonna stay with Duncan, Malone, Nowitzki, and Barkley. Now, it's not taking anything away from Giannis. It's just he's still active. He's got one championship. Did in very many ways similar to Nowitzki's championship. Be a really good team with not a lot of superstars helping him out.
Right.
And had a really great year doing it. And but yeah, I'm going to stick with that.
There you go. All right, cool. Good quiz tonight. I like that. I like this. I look forward to this. Every week.
Logic goes out the window.
Out the window. There you go.
Who doesn't Pete like? But Joe Montana.
I got to put.
It's
I
my
literally got to
team.
put. I got to put.
You're right.
I'm keeping the 4, so sorry.
I hear you.
I really.
Usually you get at least 2 right. So.
I mean, yeah.
We got 2 right.
I almost took Giannis off for the very same reason that you did.
Right.
But the mailman's just too boring. He was just boring.
He was amazing.
Yeah, hit another
he was pretty
15-foot jump or whatever.
Average another 32 and 12.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
while playing in Utah and having to be around John Stockton every 5 minutes.
Go to bed at 9:00 because you live in Utah.
I mean, he's on my list only because he had to play in Utah. He's a black man from Louisiana who spent his career in Salt Lake City.
By the way, I think any team that has either of these groups of 4 guys is in pretty good shape.
Well, you could here's all right. So here's a second part of the quiz. Take these 6 guys and have a starting lineup with a point guard, a shooting guard, a center, and a power forward and a small forward. Who's your starting 5? You don't have to think about it too long.
Who's my starting 5 of these guys?
Yeah.
Everybody but Garnett.
Yeah. So I'm going Giannis at center. I'm going Duncan at power. Well, no, hold on. I'm going Malone at power forward. I'm going Giannis.
What do you do with Giannis?
I'm going to put him at the point guard.
Really?
Okay.
I'm going to put Duncan as a 3, and I'm going to start. I know.
Charles starts at what? Small forward.
Dirk's going to be a 2, and Barkley will be a 3. Yeah.
All right. Who's center?
Malone.
You got no center in there, actually.
Duncan.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. It would be interesting to see all of them on the court at the same time.
That would be awesome to see, actually, to see them all on there. Cool.
Yeah, no one would go inside, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No one goes inside now, anyway.
Yeah.
Not so much. No. All right.
Here is one thing. Think about other than Giannis, obviously. Think about any of these guys playing in today's game at their prime.
Right.
Holy shit.
This is true.
Imagine 1984 or 85, whatever year Barkley came into the NBA. Imagine him in the NBA right now.
Well,
he'd be Zion, but he'd still be on the court. He'd average 43 a game.
He would. Yeah.
If he didn't foul out.
True, they'd call a lot more ticky-tack fouls.
Yeah. I don't know if he would last.
Malone would be out in the first quarter.
He'd be out by half.
Foul out before 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Barkley made it to 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes left in the third. That's the longest he's remained in a game so far.
Right. You'd get a great half out of each of them.
Well, that's just it. You put one.
You'd have to have both of them.
That's what I said. Yeah. Right.
Barkley comes off the bench.
Yeah. When does your rotation? Well, as soon as Barkley has his 4th foul, I come in. Just usually halfway through the first quarter. And we close with Dirk and Giannis because they kind of know how to play the Euro no-touch game.
Yeah, right.
They can at least stay on the court.
Well, Giannis just knows how to go around everybody. You know that's the big difference there.
Yeah,
Duncan would have been okay. God, that guy was good.
He was.
Of course, a lot of people don't like Duncan because he's boring and not as. But man, oof.
No, he was too good.
He's on the Mount Rushmore of basketball.
I just wish he wasn't as good as he was in '99. That's all.
Well, that Knicks team had no chance in hell.
Speaking of the Knicks, they're
it was like Larry Johnson with one leg and 3 ligaments left in the good one, and Latrell Sprewell, his parole officer. Jeff Van Gundy started half the games in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat.
Suit up.
Nobody was healthy. Yeah. Patrick Ewing was just on the sideline in a suit, but always in his briefcase, though. I don't know what he had in there. Obviously not condoms.
Obviously. We got so many opens. I swear. I got so many show opens here. This is great.
Old-time basketball.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love it. All right. So let's talk some basketball. I got hold on one second. Let me just put this here.
These 76ers are looking good out of the gate, huh?
Yeah,
they're losing to the Knicks right now. Well, they were.
Yeah. Not so much. Actually, I got a couple things, and then we'll go on from there. So, do you watch Sunday night's game? The Knicks Sixers?
No.
The last
Was it? Does it technically count as a game because it was over?
Well, I mean, the Knicks were the last 7 minutes of the game. The Knicks were outscored 19-4.
Yeah,
And they just like, and then you know what? I don't know what they have no team halfway through the fourth quarter. They just shut.
Well, they're up by 10 right now with the minute left to go in the first half.
Yeah, well, that's fine, and they usually are. They're usually. They're a first half team, and
they
got to be up. They got to be up by like 35 points going into the fourth quarter to win the game.
Weren't they up by 32 and lost?
They were up by 32 and lost the game.
Yeah.
Yep. They got to be up by like 35 points to win going into the fourth to win a game.
Tell you what, RJ Barrett's on a heater. He's got 19 points in the first half.
They've had a number of really penultimate collapses.
Ridiculous, insane. I mean, like they can only play the 3/4 of the game. That's it.
Well, one of the things I like about their chance tonight is Mitchell Robinson's back,
right?
And obviously that maybe can keep Embiid from scoring, 60.
Keep it a little closer anyway.
Yeah, it's just tough. But yeah, it's look, the Knicks are not good.
No, they're not.
They're not good.
They're not. I mean, they weren't as good as they were last year. They weren't as good last year as they looked.
No.
They played above their level that they should have been at last year, and a lot of it was the defense and everything else. We talked about that a million times, but they've regressed a lot this year. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, well, a lot of the pundits are saying this is sort of it's happening a little bit sooner than it usually does, but this is sort of an MO for Thibodeau teams.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's hard.
They kind of get burned out. It's difficult to play super high energy game after game after game.
Hard to play defense.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Which is why no team really plays it anymore.
Yeah.
But that's why the Knicks were winning last year at all.
Right. Right.
And it's also why they sort of had a tough time against the Hawks in the playoffs. I don't think the Knicks are what they've always been. I think they have 2 or 3 guys. If they can keep them, great. They need a superstar. They need a number one.
Yep.
They need a number one to go along with maybe an improving RJ Barrett and a Julius Randle and a healthy Mitchell. Alec Burks, he could be a good come off the bench guy, even though he's starting tonight. Obi Toppin, does he have some trade value? Cool. Not a bad defensive player, just really a raw talent at this point.
Right. And
maybe his stock is higher than it's going to be because of slam dunk contests and things like that. I don't know. They need to prove that they can. They need to prove that they can go out and make trades and acquire a superstar, because that's what they need.
Yeah.
They need a superstar.
You're absolutely right. They do. And then nobody's, with Dolan, it's not going to happen.
Probably not.
It's not. It's just not going to happen. Because if it was going to happen, it would have happened already. There were so many that could have come here and should have come here, and they didn't. And it's directly, we've said it a million times. It's because of Dolan. So, and that hasn't changed. So why would it change now?
Yeah, part of me really, in hindsight, wishes the Knicks didn't have this bounce back year last year. I wish that somehow the power of all of those really rich people who go to Madison Square Garden could just not stop going,
right,
and force him out.
Right.
That's the only way this organization is going to change. Right. And
it is.
I just continue.
Well,
to see
it can change if he could hire somebody who could seem to do a good job running the team. To me, that seems to be the problem.
What do you mean, coaching wise or GM?
No, the front office.
Yeah, I think the front office is. I think the front office is better. I just think that their personnel moves were desperate.
They're definitely desperate this year.
But I mean, I don't know. I think they've been pretty terrible.
Yeah, well, Fournier's turned out to be a really bad pick.
But they haven't.
Kemba Walker. I mean, I knew that was going to be a train wreck, and boy, it's more than.
I mean, they haven't committed to any players that are the kind of players that their head coach wants, likes, needs,
and they gave up some good players. Who was the point guard they had last year? Who everybody sort of gave up on, and I was like, well, he's the best point guard on the Knicks. They're good when he's on the court. Of course, he's gone. I mean, it's a lot of the defensive. basketball, you don't need 4 guys to score 20 a game. You need 2 guys to score close to 20 a game. One maybe a little over, one a little under. You need a rebounder, and you need somebody to pass the ball, and you need to play team defense, and you need to be able to shoot. Mm-hmm. That's really where the Knicks were weak, and I don't think they're any better because they're not really a catch-and-shoot team, and they don't have those guys who can just create their own shot. Now, I will say this. Randle is much better at that than people give him credit for, and I don't have any issues with Julius Randle's playing Julius Randle basketball. I like Julius Randle. He's just not the guy to lead a team to a championship. No. And there's a lot of guys who are as good or better than Randle who also can't do that alone. I mean, we're seeing that. This is why people jump ship and join forces so often. But and
you've got a guy like Quickly. Yeah, such a pleasant surprise last year, and isn't playing bad, but he's not really developing the way you'd like. There really hasn't been progress. I think that's one of the problems with the Knicks and some of these young players. We haven't really seen much of a progression in their talent level, right? And it's hard to maintain. Everything last year was oh wow, look at what they're doing, right? And we talked about it. They were going to be the team that nobody wanted to play because they were young and let's go, and we're going to play defense, and we're going to be spoilers or whatever. But people get to know you after a while, and they've changed some personnel around, and they just don't seem to be growing, and the front office is not making moves, and probably the coach is going to go before those guys do. But I think they've been a pretty abject failure, front office wise.
Yeah, and look, I constantly talk about trades and free agency. The Knicks are also not very good at the draft. Let's look at teams like Memphis. Look at a team like Cleveland. These are teams that have done a lot through the draft and assembling teams that are deep. Now, look, Memphis has Ja Morant, who I think most people knew was going to be a really good player. I don't think anybody knew he was going to be this good this quickly. But is there people always argue who's the best point guard in basketball? I'm taking Ja Morant this year over Steph Curry. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I just think that there are some teams that have been able to, through tough times, Cleveland losing LeBron and then going through and rebuilding, they've been able to get some good players because they've been able to pick some good players. Right. If you look at who the Knicks have drafted over the course of the last 5-6 years, I give them a C- to a D in their who they've picked, and that goes a long way. Whereas some of these other teams have done really, really well, and those are the teams that are starting to, come up without acquiring. They're making the best of these first 3, 4, 5 years with these guys on their roster. Right. So there's 2 ways of doing it. The Knicks have never really been a great team draft-wise. They've always been a team that's built through free agency and trades. So we'll see. I don't have a lot of optimism though.
I don't either. And it's that any optimism kind of went out the window many years ago, and none of it's really returned.
Well, they haven't really given you. Last season was nice, but
it was a pleasant distraction from the usual bullshit.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. But
last year was like, you kind of had a second and third date after not going out with anybody for 4 years.
Right.
That's kind of what last year was. It wasn't you didn't move in together. You didn't have a relationship. You got laid once, and you thought that's a success.
Right.
So, do they bring back the coach next year?
Well, who are they going to get that's better?
I think he's at least got another year. I don't think he's going anywhere.
If he wants to,
another year. If he wants to bail, and that's up to him. But
second year, right? So
this is his second year. Yeah.
I think you bring him back only because unless Jeff Van Gundy wants to come back, I'm not really quite sure. I don't know. I don't know who's better. There probably are some people who I'm not thinking of right off the top of my head that might be a better fit for this team. But
bring back Mike D'Antoni.
Well, but that begs the question: Do you want to find a coach who's a fit for this team, or do you want to build a team that fits around a coach who's a proven successful coach, by the way?
Right.
Well,
and give him at least some of what he wants and what he's looking for.
Yeah. Tom Thibodeau's last success was when, with the Bulls in what year? I mean.
Well, I would say his last success was last year.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah.
But there's a long gap in between them.
Right.
And they're two very, very different situations. But if there's nobody better that you can bring in, don't you kind of have to give the man
exactly?
Don't you have to let him coach the way he coaches that he's had success with, and give him those players,
right?
Otherwise, your front office is derelict in their duty, in my opinion.
You know what? That's the other thing, and I was saying that too. I don't think
it's been 10, 11 years now.
Yeah, no, of course it has been, and I don't think this is entirely on Tibbs, on the players rather. This is on this is him, or depending on how you want to look at it, for that matter. But being force fed Fournier and Walker and these players that Leon Rose wanted to bring in, not necessarily what he wanted. He may be regressing a little bit, but even if it's not intentionally, because of it. So, but let him sit at the table with deciding who to bring in. I don't understand why he has to be here, use this guy. I don't get that, and I never will.
They need to allow him to have much more say in the personnel decisions, and I think that's because he's going to act sort of passive aggressive regarding, look, obviously he didn't want Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish is averaging 3 minutes a game for the Knicks.
Yeah.
It's just
I don't think he's played an entire game's worth of minutes since he's here.
No, I mean, and he, obviously you knew how he felt about Kemba. I mean, it's obvious in how he plays his rotations.
Right.
And look, there's some other guys on the Knicks that he plays a lot of, that are in there a lot because they harken back to those early days. Tom Thibodeau, if the NBA was broken down into, coordinators, he'd be a defensive coordinator. He's a great defensive coordinator. He was, he was the defensive coach of the Knicks when they went to the finals in '99 under Van Gundy. Mm-hmm. Then he went to the Celtics as a kind of a guy who was there to help them improve on the defensive end. I'm not saying that's all he can do, but that's his game, and I don't mind that. I think that's great. But you've lost a lot of the guys from last year's team that want to play that way.
Right.
Put it this way. If Tom Thibodeau was coaching the Milwaukee Bucks, he'd be just as good as the Milwaukee Bucks coach, who I think is a great coach. Right. Meaning that's a team that plays Tom Thibodeau type of basketball.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think if he was coaching a young Cleveland Cavaliers team right now, I think that he would have much more success.
I agree 100%. This is not a mark on Tibbs.
Right.
This is all on the front office and fucking Dolan, letting it happen, and not caring about this team and not the basketball team the same.
Which is why this Knicks team is better with a very aging Derrick Rose on the court. Because, I mean, look, I don't know if there's a player that, if you think Tom Thibodeau, Derrick Rose, I mean, they're inseparable, and the Knicks can't wait for. I mean, it's a sad state when the Knicks can't wait for Derrick Rose to come back. I'm nothing against Derrick Rose. I'm just saying Derrick Rose it's amazing that he's still playing and that he's the best point guard in New York.
Right.
Right. Yeah, like he's the guy who's going to save the Knicks or at least salvage, hopefully salvage something from the season. That's not the guy that you should be pinning all your hopes on.
Well, he's the Knicks Chris Paul. Look at Phoenix. I mean, people talk about Phoenix in the West, and Phoenix is a great defensive team. And they went out and got some really good role players, DeAndre Ayton and otherwise. That team plays really good team defense. Chris Paul has a lot to do with that. Mm-hmm. Trust me. And I think that's where
you don't
Rose
have to sing his praises to me.
That's why Rose, I think, has a lot to do with this. It's just you sometimes need those older guys who are going to grind, who are going to be on the same page as the coach and grind these guys, into when they're young enough so that they establish these good habits.
Right.
And it's the same thing why the San Antonio Spurs were so good for so long.
The Detroit Spurs were pretty good too.
The Detroit Pistons were really good too, but that was because they committed murder.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
It's hard to score when you're dead. That.
Okay. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, like you said, Pete, we're all on the same page with that. It's just
I just don't know.
They're
I
just
don't know.
my point is they're just not in sync.
no.
And unfortunately, in these situations, it's usually the coach that ends up losing.
Right.
When Taj Gibson is like, oh yeah, he's our best starting center. You know, I mean, nothing against Taj Gibson, but that's why he plays those minutes is because he's a Tibbs guy.
Yep.
You know, and you need those. You know, it's like Bobby Portis on Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
They're a different team when he's in there, and his stats aren't going to jump out at you. But if you watch basketball and know anything about it, he was a big part of that championship run. He's a big part of why they're competing again this year.
You're right.
So you need those role players. I don't see that with the Knicks. I see them just they don't have the right mix of players. It's just
they were in the right direction last year, and then it fell apart.
They were,
you know. So what are you gonna do? Switching it over to the Nets for a minute. I don't know if you saw this, but in New York City, the indoor vaccination ban is lifted in public places. However,
not for Kyrie.
Not for Kyrie. Kyrie still can't play.
And why is that?
Because there's a private sector rider, if you will, that Kyrie falls under, and so he still can't. But he can go to the games now. He can actually attend the games. Yeah. He just can't play.
Let me ask a question.
They've lifted the mandate for, what was it, food and entertainment and something else, which sports apparently doesn't fall under the entertainment umbrella. So those three kind of businesses, you don't have to be masked. You could work in that. But again,
let me ask you guys a question.
Pro basketball is not considered one of those. I forget what the third one is,
right.
And so
weird.
Therefore, But
he wasn't able to even go to the game.
Right,
he can actually go to the game now. He can sit there next to all of them, but he can't go out on the court and play.
Yeah, he can sit there without a mask.
Without a mask, he could just go in and sit down right next to all of them, but he can't stand up and dribble a basketball.
It's like having a supermodel that can sleep next to you, but not in your bed.
Right.
And then, of course, the other players from other teams that come in, they can play.
They can play all they want. Yeah.
Well, that was my other question. So if you're unvaccinated and you come and you're a visiting player, they can play?
They can play.
Yeah.
Well, why? Explain that to me. How does that make any sense?
Because New York City, any private sector business operating in New York City, their employees have this.
Well, can't they hire Kyrie as a subcontractor based out of New Hampshire?
You know what? Maybe
they can hire him as a 1099. Maybe.
I mean,
maybe he's a
private LLC.
There you go.
I don't know.
Subcontractor might work. Actually, we should suggest that. There you go. But he can. Kyrie. A player from any other team unvaccinated can come in and play on that court in the Barclays Center. Kyrie can go to the game and sit next to all the guys. He just cannot play. Okay. I can't begin to fathom how any of that makes any sense.
No.
But
still can't believe we're begging people to get a vaccine. But okay.
No. Either all or nothing. You know, it just doesn't. That doesn't make sense. Like if Kyrie can't play, nobody else should play.
Well, what I learned is that it can only spread if you're standing up. But
dribbling a basketball.
If you're but what if he sits down?
Dribbling a basketball.
What if he sits down like in a restaurant when you can take your mask off and he's eating? What if he's actively eating while he plays? What if he has to constantly chew on a pretzel?
Oh yeah.
Love it. That's great. I got that. I like that. That's perfect. So yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, when he comes to check in, he has to have his mask on, but then as soon as he gets in and he's eating or drinking,
he's right-handed, right? So he can only dribble with his right hand. He's got to hold the pretzel in his left hand.
Right.
And he's even got like a cup of cheese like around his neck. He can dip it in, take a bite.
Or how about if he's got like a ring pop?
Sure.
That's food, right? Or they make them
and it plugs up your mouth too.
That's right.
You can't open your mouth. You can't breathe out through your mouth.
Kyrie's
not a bad idea for Kyrie either, too. So
just make sure he doesn't go too far and fall off the end of the earth.
All right. Mask mandates in most indoor settings. This is New York, including shops, grocery stores, offices, apartment building, common areas, and entertainment settings. lifted in mid-February, but individual companies can still set their own rules.
Right.
So, and of course, schools are.
So the Nets are setting their own rules?
So, well,
So
no,
the
they
Nets-
don't fall under one of those.
They don't fall under those.
They don't fall into like the entertainment.
Well, if
setting.
Durant doesn't play with Harden gone, they're certainly not that entertaining.
Let's see. New York.
The Knicks certainly don't fall under entertaining.
They still need to wear a face covering in public transportation
Sure.
and in congregate care settings such as nursing homes, correctional facilities, and homeless shelters.
Mm-hmm.
So on the
regardless of
team bus, they
vaccinations.
need to wear masks.
Yeah. Private
Right.
establishments such as restaurants, shops, museums, gyms, and entertainment centers can also still require patrons and workers to mask up
If they so choose.
if they so choose.
There you
So,
go.
as usual, it's
Clear as mud.
yeah,
Sure.
exactly. That's the right way to put it. So,
Absolutely. So,
whatever.
but I like that though. So if he's sitting there with a mask off, it's fine. But as soon as he stands up, that's kind of a right. But if a basketball touches his hand, then he's then it's not.
And he and the ball both have to go and be
they
sterilized.
have to be exactly.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with the mask. It's the mask isn't. It's just he can't play. He can't be hired.
Right.
Yep.
So, but he can play in any other stadium.
Can he be an Amazon delivery guy and just deliver assists all day long?
Ooh. Only if they're in an official Amazon box. He's got to stop, grab a box from the bench, put the ball in it, tape it up, slap a label on it.
Not a problem.
And then cross court to
Hand it
Kevin
off
Durant.
instead of throwing a hand it. Well, I guess you could throw the box, right?
All right.
And they have to unpack the box. They get it. They pull out of their back pocket. They pull out a razor.
They're going to have a lot of 24-second violations.
Absolutely.
That's for certain.
Of course, that would be 3 more passes than the Nets have ever had in this whole season.
Well, listen, supposedly Durant's coming back tomorrow night, I guess, to take on the Heat. And, I don't know how to go for the Nets this season.
Right.
Well, they're still one game above 500. They're only 3.5 games out of 6. They're in the 8th spot right now. They're in the playoffs.
They're in the 8th
they're in the
spot. They're
playoffs.
still in their playoffs. They'll make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs.
Well,
Yeah.
So,
They should.
I mean, they're 3-7 in their last 10. They lost 2 in a row. They haven't looked good.
yeah.
No. Well,
Now,
listen,
when
got the
when
crap
is Ben
beat out of
Simmons?
them by Toronto at home.
Yeah,
And then last
boy,
night
did they.
they went to Toronto and they had a pretty good game. They ended up losing it by 1, but they were ahead late in that game. And they were down not by a lot, but somewhat significantly early on. And I thought, oh, here we go again. But they came back and actually ended up taking a lead, but couldn't hang on to it.
Now, when is Ben Simmons going to be mentally ready to play?
Never. Well, it's not as mentally.
2025.
He's got a little thing with his back.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Yep.
he heard it from sitting so long?
Yes.
I listen. This is just. It's almost like
he bruised his coccyx sitting down.
the Nets just can't ever get it right for
No.
various reasons, some of which are out of their control. But I mean, I have no confidence that Simmons is going to either A, really ever come back or B, ever actually be a contributor.
I think he should just play safety for the Jets.
Maybe
There you go.
he might have as good a chance. I don't know. It's just whatever. I don't care. I'll watch for as long as they play, and then they'll get booted out of the playoffs, and they'll go, okay, well, we'll get them next year.
Well, they do have Kevin Durant, and that
They
goes
do,
a long
and
way.
they'll have Kyrie Irving, and
Maybe.
wait,
Who knows how long they'll have Kevin Durant?
Well, that's
Yeah.
see, but I think both of those guys, right? Kyrie is out because of the vaccine right now, but they could say, okay, Kyrie, come back and play every game,
and
no
then
matter
he'll get
where.
hurt.
And then there'll be something else that it might keep him out. You know, it could be a birthday party or something that he needs to take half a week off for.
He's
Who
in
knows?
charge of the pony rides.
Right. He's
mean,
got the
Durant-
pony ride, yeah.
Durant can't stay healthy physically. Kyrie's a head case. Simmons is seeming like more and more of a head case with each passing day.
I think Gene Simmons is closer to playing. than
That's a
Ben Simmons is.
possibility. And you know, and it's really a shame because I feel like they have a really nice contingent of players now. You know, I think supposedly
did.
Joe Harris is going to come back before the end of the season.
Yeah, what's his story?
He's hurt.
I know.
And he'll maybe be back, but you know, it's going to give them a really nice contingent of outside shooting.
Well,
Right?
he does have to make up for last playoffs. He was not very good.
Yeah,
in the
no,
playoffs.
he was not. But they're going to have two other guys and Curry and Mills, and Durant can shoot from the outside, and Kyrie can shoot from the outside.
Sure.
They got what's his name clogging up the center now, whose name I can never remember.
Maybe we should bring back Kerry Kittles.
The other guy who came over in the trade. Kerry Kittles. I like Kerry Kittles. Bring back Kenyon Martin. They have a nice contingent of
Albert
players,
King.
but you can't win in this league without a number one.
And his Robin.
Yeah. And, it's just, I don't know. Look, there are some players who, when they're younger, they tend to get hurt, right? Guys who come in the league and they're really young, sometimes they get hurt. They're still growing. They're still maturing. And then they get kind of into their mid-20s, late 20s, and they get a little stronger. And then they have good, long, much healthier careers.
Right.
That doesn't happen like when they're 30 to 35, and Kevin Durant is not getting any younger. So to think that his injury history is going to suddenly disappear.
No, it's going to get worse, if anything.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So if we can't keep him on the court now, another year and another year.
The Nets had good balanced scoring against the Raptors. They just fell short. And,
they fell short.
You plug Kevin Durant in there along with LaMarcus Aldridge and Patty Mills and Seth Curry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. They have a nice contingent of players, and those guys, like last night, it looked like a team that said, "Okay, this is our team now, and we're just going to learn to win with these guys. We're not going to be waiting. We're not waiting anymore. We're not waiting." And they played together. They played hard. They're still not particularly good defensively, but it's a nice group of players. But you need the stars. And
Simmons will help him defensively. I don't think he's going to help him much, and I think it's going to take some time for him to round into playing in the NBA again. Look, I'd really be interested to see what Kevin Durant does down the stretch, because looking at this objectively, this is the least amount of talent he has ever had around him in his professional career. I mean, let's just be honest. With Harden gone, he doesn't have the talent he had in Oklahoma City. He certainly doesn't have the talent he had in Golden State. He doesn't have the talent that he had with the Nets last year.
Right.
So let's see what Durant could do. I still argue when he's healthy, he's the best player in the NBA. So I think he's going to have something to prove here. I don't think they would have traded Harden without Durant at least understanding and or signing off on it. So we shall see.
We shall. The Nets, as of yesterday, with Durant are 24-12. Without Durant are 8-18.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So there you go. So.
Hey,
he's kind of important.
He's pretty good when he's on the court. I've never seen him be bad on the court.
No.
Yeah.
So,
what you guys think of the Wizards getting Porzingis?
Porzingis,
the unicorn returning to the East Coast.
Porzingis is one of those guys too. I think is bad luck charm. I don't know. Well, he's another guy. I mean, give it 3 games, he'll be out again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's Durant's not as
he's a delicate unicorn.
And where are the Mavs?
The Mavs are 5th place. They're half game ahead of the Nuggets. Yep. Look, Doncic. I mean, look, if you can combine the Nuggets and the Mavericks, you'd have one hell of a team. Wouldn't that be something, watching Doncic and Jokic play together?
Well, listen, the Mavericks have Dinwiddie now.
Yeah.
Who is turning into a really, really, I mean, he already was a really good young player, and like he put in 25 the other night, and
they have a good supporting team.
Going to help be a big part of that secondary cast. So,
yep.
And Dallas is beating teams. They're playing. Dallas would not be one of those teams that want to play in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
Right. No.
Definitely not.
They're hot right now, and of course
sure.
they beat a pretty miserable Lakers team, but yeah.
Yeah, man. The Lakers are whatever. The sooner we can stop talking about them, the better.
The sooner we can stop talking about the Lakers. This is you picked the perfect show to say that statement.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't mean as far as our.
Well, look, LeBron is back, but I mean it's Russell. LeBron was a +7 last night. All right. Russell Westbrook was -8.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo pumped in 20 last night off the bench, 30 minutes, but they're thin. And Dwight Howard's numbers are way down. They've got they've got LeBron James and Russell Westbrook and a bunch of guys that nobody knows playing right now. Stanley Johnson.
Stanley Jordan is playing.
Stanley Johnson started last night. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Malik Monk is still there. He's having a pretty good year, actually. I kind of like him.
How does Howard only play 4 minutes? Did he get hurt or something?
No, he's games diminished. And it's also who they're playing. They're playing Utah, and Utah doesn't really have who's he going to guard on Utah? It's like
yeah.
Or not Utah, Dallas. I'm sorry.
Dallas, yeah.
On Utah, he would have played a bunch of minutes. But yeah,
the
Lakers just aren't. I mean, Trevor Ariza's not playing. I don't think he's hurt. Bazemore. I mean, Anthony's still putting up big minutes, but they're thin right now. The Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And LeBron,
no AD.
And AD might, hate to say this, but AD might be, the missing link on that team.
Right.
I think he is.
Arguably, the most important player. Again, a guy who you can't count on staying on the floor.
Right.
It's just always hurt.
Yep.
Always hurt.
And he really is a great player.
He's a great player.
You know, it hurts that much more.
He's a good defensive player. He's the most efficient player on the Lakers. I mean, what is he shooting? 55% from the field? I mean, it's something crazy like that.
It is crazy. Yeah, he's got
his numbers are always good. He's pretty consistent. He's just hurt, and that's too bad. But I mean, look, this is another team. If the Lakers can get healthy, I don't want to play him in the first round. It's just You don't think LeBron's gonna step on the accelerator?
Oh no, he will. He will. But how long is it going to last?
Yeah.
How much gas is in the car once he steps on it, though?
He can probably play 46 minutes a game, but I don't know if he can be effective for 46 minutes a game night after night. You know what I mean? Long series. He is only human. I mean, well, he's superhuman, but he's only superhuman.
He's only superhuman.
But I mean, his numbers are still astounding.
I know. There's not enough. Well, for how is he? Oh, he's 54 years old this year.
That's right.
Pretty astounding for a 54.
63, I think, actually.
It's. I mean, if you look at even Westbrook's numbers, which his turnovers are. But I mean, look, Russell Westbrook's averaging 4 turnovers a game. LeBron James averaging 3.5.
Right.
So, that's. Carmelo Anthony's averaging, less than 1 turnover a game.
Right.
So it's they're an interesting team. LeBron and Westbrook have the ball in their hands a lot, and they're not always. LeBron makes up for it because he's averaging almost 30 a game, but Westbrook's, if those 4 turnovers average 8 or more points a game, that's a big differential.
If I'd have told you 6 years ago that. Or more, or whatever, that the Lakers were going to have LeBron, AD, Westbrook, Anthony, and company, and
Dwight Howard.
And
the record at this point in the season would be 27-34. You would be like, what?
Well, if you would, if had you caveated that by saying that the majority of the season they would not have LeBron and or Anthony Davis on the court at the same time, then sure.
But still, you'd think they'd be closer to 500.
Yeah. You'd think that at least a little closer to 500.
And those 2 guys are hurt a lot. Well, yeah, okay, so they'll be
maybe they'll only be 10 games over
30
500.
and 31.
Well, I mean, Dwight Howard had a good year as a role player over 2 years ago now with the Lakers when they won a championship, and then he left. Is DeAndre Jordan still on the Lakers? I mean, isn't he hurt? Isn't he still technically a Laker right now? I mean, he might be a more he's just as efficient as Dwight Howard. I mean, they've got these kind of old school centers that they don't need half the time.
Well, I mean, if anything from a couple of years ago holds true, I mean, the Rams just won the Super Bowl, so that must mean the Lakers are going to win the championship this year, right?
I
Oh, yeah, that's
I don't know how that correlates. But,
Well, the Dodgers and the Lakers won.
uh,
So yeah,
gotcha.
got it. Two teams from like LA.
well, they both won in shortened seasons, which helps
There you
teams
go.
like the Dodgers and the Lakers, who are made up of veterans.
There you go. This is
No,
very true.
it says here the Lakers reported they intend to waive DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
Apparently, he asked out. I guess he's not playing much, and he said,
Well,
let me go.
yeah, the Lakers are another team that Westbrook trade kind of hurt their depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had some young players to go along with AD. The AD trade hurt their depth. So, I mean,
Russell Westbrook is not Russell Westbrook right now. I mean, he's not bad, obviously.
He just can't hit the side of a barn with a.
So,
freight
to get rid of, to do what they're doing. I mean, to grasp at straws and get rid of some good young players just to bring Russell Westbrook in is just, I don't know. I don't know, but whatever. Who knows? But on that note, though, since we seem to be zeroing in on the Lakers, this might just be a good time for a segue. What do you think?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about some all-time great Lakers.
Let's talk about the great Lakers of yore, if you will. Tonight's top list, and we can't even call it a top 10 list because technically it's a top 14 or top 15 list, so it's not really
all-time roster.
All-time list. These are all-time rosters that we're doing in lieu of the top 10 list, if you will. So top all-time rosters of the LA Lakers, all-time. There we go. Top LA Lakers of all time, as we did last week with the Knicks, and as we did last week with the Knicks, we did first team, second team, and then reserves.
By position, by the position that they actually played.
By the position that they actually played. So we're gonna kick it off with the first team, with our picks for the first team of the LA Lakers all time. And we actually picked pretty
Everybody
much.
picked the same.
We all picked the same players. So this is a unanimous list tonight.
Now does that? What does that say about the Lakers? That we didn't have. I mean, there are a couple guys here and there you might have put in for sentimental reasons or whatever, but it was fairly obvious. So what does that say about the Lakers?
Well, here's what it tells me about the Lakers is that they have an incredible history. They have arguably the best player of all time at one position.
Right.
They arguably have 3 of the top 5 of all time at another position.
Mm-hmm.
They arguably have the second best player of all time at another position. And the guy who the NBA logo is named after almost had to be a reserve.
Designed after,
right.
Yeah.
But my point is these are their great players, and there's really nobody else who comes close to touching them.
Well,
as opposed to other lists. I mean, there are some, but as opposed to other lists where we had a wide variance of players.
I think this is just like the Knicks. I think the center position was really tough when you really look at it. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer, but I think it's really tough when you really look at it because they have some great players.
It's hard, but I went this route.
At two other positions, it's a no-brainer. You can't even argue it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's
so much like the Knicks.
They weren't that.
But
think about it this way. Think about it this way.
This was a great team, though.
Think about it this way, though, Pete. I know what you're saying, Pete, but think about it this way. Is it because they only had this many great players? Or is it because other teams, while they have great players, those great players or those best players are a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit closer to earth to the other great players that they had.
Yeah.
And these guys on this list are just so far above anybody else.
Well,
that's why this list is easy to do.
They also had a lot of guys who've played for a long time and also some very successful years with this team. There's some other guys on this list who played. They're going to definitely be number one on another team.
Right.
Or they're going to start or be on another team. So, and look, quite honestly, if 2 of the guys that are currently playing for the Lakers play another 3 or 4 years with the Lakers,
this list
changes.
Yeah. No,
maybe at least one position. I'm not sure. I think there's only one that would change in my opinion. The other one,
only
not
one
so
that
sure.
would change in mine too. Yeah, just the one. Yeah, so.
And that's not the one you think.
Yeah.
To me, it seemed like I basically got to the second team power forward spot before there was really any debate about who belonged there.
Right.
And it's an interesting question that you just posed, John. Like there's just less distance on other teams between the guy that you put in the one or the two, and then the other couple other guys who played that position for that team.
They're so talented. They're so talented at the center position that a guy who's on the all-time 75 and 50-year anniversary, 75-year, 100-year anniversary, didn't make it on the starting roster and had to get an honorary spot tonight.
Yeah, but that was also a question of longevity too.
Right. Well, played 10, 11 years for the Lakers. You know, I mean, George. We'll talk about it. Look, I would say that this. I would argue that there is no franchise in the history of basketball and maybe sports that has. This is the all-time, and we'll see as we go through some of the other ones. Obviously, the Celtics might give them a run for their money, but I think without a doubt, this is the greatest especially if you add the two people that are playing now to this list. Right. This is just incredible. The amount of talent that has played that's put on a Lakers uniform. Absolutely. It's staggering.
Right. So maybe we should get to reading some names.
Let's go.
So let's do it. All right. First team. The point guard for our first team tonight is none other than Earvin Magic Johnson. And we will talk more about these after I read them all off. The starting shooting guard for our first team would be Mr. Kobe Bryant.
It's just not fair.
It's not.
If you took these teams, like had all these players in their prime and had like a tournament.
Right.
You know, even the Celtics would look at the Lakers team and go, "Damn it!
Yeah, right.
There's no way."
Yeah.
I don't know. Bird and Havlicek in their prime together with Bob Cousy and Bill Russell.
That's a pretty good team too.
That's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, moving on to the small forward on the first team would be Mr. Elgin Baylor.
I mean, this is where you're like, Elgin Baylor.
Elgin Baylor.
Oh, by the way, Elgin Baylor.
And we'll move on to power forward would be Mr. Paul Gasol.
This was a tough one, but
Paul Gasol.
Well, Paul Gasol, yeah. It's they're not deep at the power forward, and there's some other power forwards that I think are more memorable in their history.
Right.
But he was the missing link when Shaq left and came and was just incredible. He was there, without a doubt, the second best player on those teams.
Yeah, Paul Gasol, yeah.
Where he might rank amongst the power forwards of all time on every team, is the question.
Right,
worthy of debate. But as far as his being a great Laker, he was a great Laker.
Yeah, right. Him and Lamar Odom, both playing the same position. I think at the same time for a number of years.
For a few years,
both,
they were. Yeah,
both really, really big time contributors.
Yeah,
to those late championship teams.
A handful of other names that, they played a lot of time off the bench because of the other talent on the team. They were certainly some guys that were kind of favorites of mine, even though
my favorite will always be Kurt Rambis, but it's hard to say Kurt Rambis is a better power forward than Pau Gasol.
Yeah. I tried to make a case.
I know. I did too. Trust me.
You can't.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. And our center for this team of these guys would be none other than Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Or Lou Alcindor, if you choose.
Yeah, I mean
Ferdinand Lewis Alcindor Jr., to be exact.
That's a pretty incredible starting lineup until you see the second team.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. And where was Mr. Jabbar born?
In New York, right?
Harlem, New York. Yep, exactly. So there you go. All right. So that's our first team. We'll talk about, let's read them all off, and then we'll talk about all the teams. Let's do that. All right. Starting point guard for the second team would be Mr. Jerry West. And we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about how we voted too when we after we finish reading them off too. But
the big point guard shooting guard debate.
Exactly. But yeah, point guard for the second team, Jerry West. Shooting guard for the second team, Gail Goodrich. Then we're going to move on to the small forward would be James Worthy. Just second
Just
team.
James Worthy.
Second team.
James Worthy and Elgin Baylor. Jeez.
Then we got our power forward is Mr. Vern Mickelson.
Yeah, name most people don't know, but man, he was good. He was kind of the prototypical first power forward.
He was, yeah.
He won a couple championships with obviously the Minnesota Lakers, but this was, and he played next to George Mikan. I mean, think about that front line.
Exactly.
But your Vikings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think he fouled out of a bunch of games.
Of course he did.
So anyway,
just like any good power forward should.
Yes, exactly.
And to round it out, and this may shock a few people, knowing that we named Kareem to the first team as center, center on the second team, and we were all in agreement with this, and that is Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
Shaq gets the pick right there.
Yeah. Except that coming in after Shaq and Kareem is arguably the best basketball player of all time.
right. We keep him for the reserve.
Right. He wasn't as great a Laker. That's
still pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's the only reason he didn't make it up into one of those other two teams for me is because of the longevity or the time, time served, if you will.
Yeah. Although he was in the playoffs and in the finals, I think.
Every year.
4 out of the 5 years he was there. Something like that.
Right. So, and then the reserve team would be at, they're both.
Just our bench.
This is our bench, yeah. So our bench would be, as a guard, technically as a shooting guard, but Michael Cooper, also Brian. There it is. Hello. Why is this? There we go. Yeah. Brian Scott, also as a guard, and then our reserve. Forward, we have Jamal Wilkes.
God, he was good.
Yeah. And then, of course, to round it out,
and then our garbage time center.
Our garbage time center would be Mr. Stilt himself, Wilt Chamberlain.
He is this team's version of who is the Knicks' big stiff center in '99 who took over for Ewing and said, "Oh God, he's horrible. Couldn't hit a free throw." So it was Shaq basically dunked on him and then pushed him into the third row. Big white stiff. What's that?
Bill Cartwright?
No. Big white stiff. Way worse than Cartwright. Way worse. The worst center, the worst player to ever start in an NBA Finals, without a doubt. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The joke's lost.
That was pretty funny.
I'll think of it.
Yeah. So anyway, so Wilt Chamberlain is our garbage time center for this list. All right, let's go back to the first team. Let's talk about the first team. Magic, Kobe, Elgin, Pau, and Kareem. Yeah. So let's talk about them. Go ahead.
I think the only name that probably doesn't jump out as obvious on that is Pau Gasol. But his numbers were really good. Look, the Lakers, like a lot of, they didn't necessarily have the depth at power forward, as far as they didn't need it. They always had good guys, but Gasol was the first guy at power forward who really came in. Now, Bob McAdoo played power forward.
Yeah, McAdoo is another guy that might have.
Another guy didn't have his best years, was there very late in his career, but was, came on off the bench quite a bit, as Gasol did actually when he first started. But Gasol, when you look back on it and you look at those transition period after Shaq, post Shaq, they struggled to win a championship and even get deep into the playoffs until they started getting the Robert Oryes and the Pau Gasols back into the mix here. And, Kobe had a pretty good support team. I would argue that he didn't have nearly as much talent as he did, the Magic had or that Kobe had when him and Shaq were there. But Gasol played, and especially the one year that they won the championship, he was fantastic. And his career numbers are really good, and he was an efficient player, much better defensive player than people give him credit for, especially off the ball. Those Lakers teams were actually pretty good team defensive teams. And he was a great shooter and just a good scorer. I mean, he was consistent. That's what you got out of Pau Gasol. He was just consistent. He wasn't going to score 63 and then come back and score 13. He was just going to give you 18 and 10 and just.
He brought kind of the European game, right? He wasn't
a little bit,
he did.
But he
I
wasn't.
mean, I would say Vlade Divac brought that first, but
right. No, but I'm saying
another guy who he
was amongst that kind of that group of players. He wasn't a bruising power forward. He was, he had an inside presence, but he had better touch, understood defense, and could play defense, and kind of brought that style.
I will say, compared to a lot of the other Euros who were coming in at the time, he got more physical. I don't think he liked it, but he got more physical. I think his brother taught that to him.
Yeah.
He got a little bit more physical. But he was really vital. I think the matchups fared well, but they played some good teams. The Spurs were still around during that time. And look, I thought they were going to win another one, but Pau Gasol was there for a good amount of time and was the second best player on that team without a doubt.
Not to go back to it, but Chris Dudley, you were talking about.
Chris Dudley, yeah.
Oh,
so there you go. But this first team, you know what? I love the Celtics team that you put together there, but I still think this first team would probably.
Well, Gasol, what people don't realize too, he's 7'1".
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to be long and give you but he averaged 17 and just under 10 rebounds in his career, and his efficiency rating was pretty good. He shot over 50% field goal percentage. So he had some good years. He played 7 seasons with the Lakers and 10 rebounds and 18 points. That's on a team with a guy who's averaging 30 something. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. And anything you want to, any of these other, we should probably, make mention of, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, because a lot of people out there don't know who they were.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we need to. I mean, I don't think there's going to be, I don't think you're going to have any team. Look, I think the Knicks starting 5 would give this team a run for its money, but as soon as you get to the bench, it's just game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called depth.
Yeah. I mean, they're just such an incredible, the 2 best franchises in the history of basketball are the Lakers and the Celtics. And it's we'll talk about the Celtics. I'm sure we'll do them pretty closely, but it's it would be interesting. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
When you got people like Dave Cowens and Kevin McHale, you got Robert Parrish and Bill Russell. They were just a different type of team. I mean, obviously, Larry Bird's right up there with some of the with some of the greats here. It's just I think you're right. I mean, we'll talk about it more when we get there, but I just can't imagine another team having the players at this Lakers team, and then add Anthony Davis and LeBron James if they stick around for a little while.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. I honestly, just based on what he's done with the Lakers so far. I mean, if LeBron wins 2 more championships with the Lakers and averages, 28 points a game, then I think you got to put him over Elgin Baylor, but Anthony Davis certainly slides into that top power forward spot with a couple more years served under his belt. So everything gets skewed a little bit more. But look, you have players like a Robert Horry, whose numbers were never great, but you knew Derek Fisher. There's a Bob McAdoo. There's the list of great Laker players goes on. And Norm Nixon, arguably the 3rd best point guard, to ever play for the Lakers. They've always had really, really great players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Second team. We have Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, James Worthy, Vern Mickelson, and Shaq. Just like you said, it's called depth. You get that first team for the Knicks would hang tight anyway with the first team.
It would be Shaq against Ewing, and
But and then it's just not gonna. Yeah, these five right here, just the depth is crazy when you talk about the Lakers, and then the reserves. Your bench beyond the second team, obviously. Cooper, Scott, Wilkson, and Wilt the Stilt. Not a bad bench.
No, and there were a couple of guys that I kind of wanted to put on there.
Right.
They didn't quite have the numbers, but a guy like Robert Horry.
Right. Yeah, Robert Horry was the only other one that I was like back and forth with. He was like, if I put a fifth bench, he would have been on it.
Yeah, Horry and Odom was another guy we had in consideration.
Derek Fisher, man, he's the and I'd be remiss without talking about Kurt Rambis too, because Rambis was just, I mean, he went up against a lot of tough guys. He was a great defensive player.
Yeah, he was
a goon.
He wasn't really a goon though. He was kind of the guy who the goons beat up on. He wasn't as big as most of the goons. He was a hell of a rebounder and a good defender.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
I mean, let's not, and out of all of these, let's not forget about people like Jamal Wilkes and James Worthy. I mean, James Worthy, man, pretty incredible. There were a couple of years there where James Worthy you could argue was one of the the best, if not top 2 or 3 players in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Great numbers. I mean, 16,320 points, 4,708 rebounds in his career. His whole career in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Bob McAdoo still averaged 25 points and 8 rebounds during his time with the Lakers.
Big game James.
And won 2 championships.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Thompson, we forget about him. Rick Fox. He was a big part of those teams,
Mm-hmm.
Again,
it's all a matter of depth. I mean, you talk about. I mean, you look at the names we have on the list, right? And they're where they are now. By no means was Wilt Chamberlain a bench player, right?
No,
but he's on this bench because of who's ahead of him and so forth and so on, right? But you think about who was actually on the bench on these teams,
right?
It's staggering to.
Or just the starters. I mean,
or the starters with them. Yeah, sure.
Another guy that I thought about putting on my bench is AC Green. Mm-hmm. 3 championships. And I think he was, almost a double-double guy, 15 and 9, 16 and 8, something like that. It's, here's the other thing with guys like, Byron Scott and especially Michael Cooper, great defensive players. They were all really guys who played both ends of the court. People talk about Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, how many all defensive teams was he on? This is just a spectacular organization. It
really is.
And I think there's people, including Jerry West and Magic Johnson and Shaquille. I think even Shaq says Kobe's the best Laker of all time.
Yeah, I've heard Shaq say that. So.
For Magic, if Magic's going to say that, no, I'm not sure Kareem would say that. And I might have an argument for Kareem, but who cares? I mean, when your argument is between Kobe Bryant, Jerry West, Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson. Oh, by the way, Jerry West didn't even make our starting team. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it is. So, great list. This is a good list tonight. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah,
this was
good. Pretty good.
Definitely good. Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, that in doing so, that brings us to this week's Old Balls. Old Balls. Harry, why don't you tell us who this week's Old Balls is?
This week's recipient of Old Balls is none other than maybe one of the best centers of all time who couldn't even make it into the on the bench of this Lakers team.
Right.
otherwise known as Mr. Basketball, Mr. George Mikan, who was, one of the first big men, to really ever dominate the league. Played for the Minnesota Lakers, who eventually became the Los Angeles Lakers. Had an incredible hook shot, was arguably the best rebounder to ever play in the game, was one of the first just dominant defensive players and shot blockers. And, played at a time when the NBA was still not fully integrated. But you can't really take away his accomplishments. Again, obviously before, not all of his time was played in the NBA, but he played for for 1 year for the Chicago American Gears and then the Minneapolis Lakers, and then coached the Lakers for a couple of years. Two-time NBL champion, 5-time BAA/NBA champion. He was the National Basketball League's most valuable player in 1948. Was a 4-time NBA All-Star in 4 years, and an NBA All-Star Game MVP in 53. A 6-time All BAA/NBA first team, two All NBA first teams, and NBL scoring champion, 3 times NBA scoring champion. And look, 25th anniversary team, 35th anniversary team, 50th anniversary team, and 75th anniversary team. And I think when you talk about some of the long history of professional basketball, over 11,000, almost 12,000 points in the NBL, BAA, and NBA, and almost 11,000 points in the BAA and the NBA. And he averaged 13.4 rebounds per game, and almost 3 assists a game. This is center. So, again, this is how good this Lakers team is, that somebody like George Mikan, who probably, I think didn't he make our top 10 centers of all time?
He did.
I believe so, yeah.
Did not make it into the top 14 Lakers. Now, again, it's a lot of this is subjective, and a lot of it has to do with how many centers there were already there. But it takes nothing away than
this isn't
Mikan.
Yeah, these lists aren't top 14 Lakers of all time. These lists are top teams, first team, second team benches by position. So when you have Kareem and Shaq and Wilt in front of you, it's hard to make that,
Right. And here's the thing with Mikan is that he was so dominant that the NBA changed its rules and widened the lane from 6 to 12 feet so that, he couldn't dominate as easily and get in and out of the lane without having a violation.
I think they also created the goaltending rule because of him, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. And he's also directly responsible for the ABA 3-point line, which was later adopted by the NBA. So not sure. I'll hold that against him maybe, but
now anyway.
Yeah. But look, George Mikan, this week's recipient of all balls, just literally a giant, and was a really, really, really great guy, and he shot his free throws underhanded, which Shaq should have done.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, did you guys
this week's old balls?
Oh, sorry.
Got to finish with it.
Did you guys leave him off because we didn't really need 4 centers?
Kind of. I mean,
I don't want to put a fourth center.
I just figured I was like, we'll get him on old balls and talk a little bit more about him, than just throwing him in there with Byron Scott and Jamal Wilkes. I mean, I would say that George Mikan is probably a better player than Jamal Wilkes in the history of the Lakers or Byron
what
Scott.
I was getting at.
But once you have Kareem, Shaq, Wilt, I
was sort of looking at it as, we're creating a team here.
We're creating a team.
So, look, we didn't have a point guard on the bench. We can't, we only have 4 bench players, so we can't have every position or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm like, well,
you can't have 2 centers on a bench of 4 people. So
if we have four centers on the team and only 4 guys on the bench, you're right. Half your bench is
Yes, I mean that's part of the reason. There's some other. There was like AC Green was really a hard choice for me to not have him on there, but I just thought Michael Cooper and Jamal Wilkes had a little bit of a bigger impact, and I think they get forgotten a little bit in that Showtime Lakers. but all those guys,
they're all great.
Just pretty darn incredible.
Right.
Look, the Lakers are just one of those teams. I mean, since I've been a conscious viewer of sports, it's been very, very few years where the Lakers have not been an incredibly relevant team. You go from the Magic Kareem days, through the long battle with the Celtics, and then it wasn't too long after that you had some Shaq and Kobe going on, and then Kobe and Powell and Meta World Peace and all the nonsense there, and everything else. And I mean, there was a little bit of a downtime. Obviously, signing LeBron and signing Anthony Davis made them relevant again. But the Lakers have been a pretty successful organization.
I would say so.
In the fact that there's very, very few years in the last 50, 60 years that they have not been one of the most relevant sports franchises in all of professional sports.
Well, they sort of have it all, right? I mean, it's LA, right? And so you have great weather and stars and all that. And certainly as players have gotten more and more into certainly there's the guys who make the most money from playing basketball make generally speaking, way more money from endorsements than they actually make from playing basketball.
Oh yeah,
right.
And that goes for any sport, really.
Right. If they have any, so that's kind of the capital of that, right? Whether they're getting into commercials or they want to be actors or whatever. Right. So LA has all of that stuff, that allure, and then of course you have the history of the team and a storied franchise. So it really, why would you not want to go there if you had the opportunity?
And they have something that not a lot of other sports franchises have. They have a continuation. Jerry West was not only an important player, but he was important in being able to get other players to come to the Lakers. Then he goes into the front office of the Lakers and is responsible for a lot of their success there. You start to see people like Magic Johnson having a say in trying to lure some of the big name free agents into Los Angeles. So there's a continuation there that you don't get with a lot of other teams.
Right.
And look, there's two names that we didn't talk about, and that's Pat Riley and Phil Jackson. Who they both had a lot of talent around them. In Riley's case, he came to the Knicks with a lot less talent, and let's face it, he did a pretty decent job with that Knicks team to get them to where they were. Had he had a Norm Nixon or a Byron Scott or a Bob McAdoo to round out things, it might have been a different story. And then Phil Jackson, again, was the quintessential coach for his time, and maybe the ultimate coach of a team that's full of high profile players in a whole high profile city. He's kind of hands off, had his philosophy, let his assistants do a lot of the sort of X's and O's, and was really more about trying to keep players happy playing together. Yep. And that has a lot to do with the success of this franchise.
Which apparently was really difficult with Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah.
But he did it.
It's like the Beatles, they can only be together for so long. I think it's like that with anybody. And then they look back on it and go, yeah, my best work was when I was with that asshole. And Kobe did win without Shaq, but there were a couple lean years there, and Shaq had to go and kind of be a third fiddle on some teams. He didn't necessarily. In the history of the NBA, the lone big man has always had a hard time winning a championship by himself. I mean, even Wilt Chamberlain wasn't able to do it. If you look at a long line of NBA centers, other than Hakeem Olajuwon, I'm not really quite sure there's anybody who just won it by themselves.
Right.
There's a long list, great list. And look, Kareem had Oscar Robertson, and then he had Magic and James Worthy and Byron Scott and Norm Nixon, and the list goes on and on and on. Sure. And look, Kareem, especially early on, Kareem was the even in the last championship he played on, he was still the ball went through Kareem. Which is why I think he's the greatest Laker of all time, especially think about the longevity that he had.
Yeah.
Sure. But they're whether you like them or not, that you can't argue. I think they're the best basketball franchise of all time.
Yeah.
Has there been since Boston won more championships? I think the Celtics still have more championships.
Celtics still have more championships, but not by far.
No.
And that was with a run of 10.
Right.
Yeah.
The Lakers never had a run of 10.
No. Three times. Right. But and it must be the fourth quarter because the Knicks are now down by 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was just looking. Now I think we last mentioned the score was right before half, right?
Yeah, it was the Knicks were up by
6 or 7.
Knicks were up by 7 points. Yeah.
And Randall had 16 points, I think, at that point. He has 21 now. So
28.
Actually, the Lakers and Celtics.
Randall has 21. Yeah.
Lakers and Celtics are tied. They both have 17 championships.
Well, there we go.
There you go.
But the Knicks are.
I thought there was one or two. I thought the Celtics were still 1 or 2 above them, but yeah.
I'm looking at something. I mean, I can't. Most NBA championships won by a franchise.
Knicks were outscored 38-19 in the third quarter.
Yep, that's about
there
right.
You go. And they're +2 in the fourth quarters. So I love this stat. Tied 6 times, 1 lead change.
There you go.
Here's an interesting stat.
There you go.
The Celtics and the Lakers have combined for 34 of the 74 NBA championships.
There you go. Yeah, 17 each. Yeah.
34 of the 74. That's crazy.
Yeah, the Celtics have 9 conference titles. Won 9 conference titles, and the above the 17, and then the Lakers have 19. And
the Celtics have
division titles.
Celtics have a better
31.
winning. Celtics have been to 21 finals appearances and won 17. The Lakers have been to 32
and won 17.
Right.
So the percentage is better for the Celtics. But you're right. Yeah, 34 of the 74 championships were won by 2 teams. So there you go. But anyway,
James Harden's got 24, 8, and 8.
R.J. Barrett 28. He leads.
R.J. Barrett's got 28. Yeah.
28. Yeah. So
Fournier's got 3. Jesus.
Yeah, well, it's at least it was the third quarter they should have bet in tonight. It wasn't the fourth quarter. So
yeah, that's true.
At least change it up a little bit. That's all. So,
I mean, part of me just wants to. I don't want to have to go through watching the Knicks in the playoffs. I kind of hope that they just get a better draft pick, and they're not going to do anything. It's just obvious, But
I know. So what are you going to do? Anyway, all right. A little hockey?
No.
Just no. Here, I'll throw it up there. Well, I mean, I'm wearing a Rangers jersey tonight, so we can talk about
Congratulations.
it. Rangers are still in third. And
Rangers are still in third. They trail the Hurricane by 8 points.
8 points.
8 points, and the Penguins are ahead of them by 3 as well. So they're in third place in the East.
Devils are only
31 points behind the 36 points behind the
only 36 points out of first.
Right.
So
there you go.
And the Lightning. Listen, crawling along with Florida and Toronto right behind them.
Exactly. So
Montreal's still last.
Yeah, technically in the Eastern, in the Metropolitan and Atlantic divisions, the Knicks are technically in 6th right now.
The Knicks.
Rangers are technically in 6th right now. I'm looking at the word Knicks and talking about the Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Because they have 71 points and the Lightning have 76.
Well, Pittsburgh and Toronto are tied for 4th.
Pittsburgh and Toronto are tied for 4th. Yeah. So
yes, but who has the most points in all of the NHL by quite a bit?
That would be the Avalanche.
Yeah.
That would be the Avalanche with 84 points.
Coming down.
How many times has the regular season points leader gone on to win the title? Not that many.
Not that many, no.
I don't know. For the amount of time the Avalanche have been in hockey, they've been a pretty successful organization.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. No, they definitely have. And I'm looking at it. The Devils right now have 43 points. The Kraken are only 7 points behind them with 37 points. So, and the Coyotes are just 32. They're in the they're the trailing. They're bringing.
Yeah, but that Pacific Division, nobody's got any points there.
Yeah, that's true.
Calgary's in first with 70. Give me a break.
There you go.
Be no better than third in any other.
Too many hockey teams.
Yeah, there really are a lot.
30.
And again, the Canadians are just stinking it up.
They are.
Canadians, the Sabres. These are the teams that I want to see in there.
The
Vancouver's no good.
The Canadians have 4 less points than the Kraken do. So.
And every year, the Pittsburgh Penguins are good.
Every year.
Even with Ben Roethlisberger retiring.
Yeah. Well, they got.
He retired from football. He's still going to be.
He's still their backup.
Backup goalie.
Goalie, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Who's how much longer can Crosby play? He's been around for a while now, right?
That would be an interesting question of who's the starting, team for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. We should do that.
Pick your center.
I still got to go. I still got to go with Shaq.
Shaq.
I still got to go with Shaq.
Yeah, probably. No, I'll go Pouncey. I'll go
for
Pouncey.
Whoever the guy was that played for the Fish that saved Pittsburgh. Marcus Pouncey, yeah. Mike Webster, come on.
Oh, that's great. But anyway, all right, there you go. Well,
no real movement. I mean, my one takeaway going back to the NBA is the Memphis Grizzlies are for real, and Ja Morant has stamped his name onto the voting card for the MVP.
Exactly. So, on that note, too, by the way, I'm wearing a Rangers jersey, and we've been doing basketball. Yes, you all found me out. I do not own a Lakers jersey, which is why I did not.
Let me ask you a question, though. If you were to get a Lakers jersey, current or classic, who would you get? I mean,
Kareem.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. If I had my pick,
not Alex Caruso.
I'd get Rambis.
Rambis? Would you? No, I'd go with Kareem. I'd get a Abdul-Jabbar on the back of it. I'd definitely get. If I have my choice, sometimes I don't. Depends on where I'm buying the jersey. Sometimes if there's believe me, I could throw a rock and hit any one of like 9,000 available Kobe jerseys within 5 miles of here.
You think Kobe's the best-selling Lakers jersey of all time?
At the moment, it is. I don't know if it's all time, but at the moment, it's. I don't know if it's the best-selling. It's definitely the most available right now. One place I buy jerseys from not only has about 70 different styles of Kobe, not just Lakers jerseys, Kobe jerseys, but they also have Rams jerseys with Bryant on the back. They have Dodgers jerseys with Bryant on the back. And I haven't seen a Kings jersey with Bryant on the back, but they have football and baseball jerseys with Kobe Bryant on the back too. So, I mean, obviously that's all paying homage, and so forth and so on. But,
sure.
But yeah, there's a lot of them out there. But yeah, if I had my pick, if I was going to go buy a Lakers jersey and I had my pick of whoever I wanted it to be, I'd get a Kareem jersey.
Kobe Bryant is the number 2 selling jersey of all time in all of the NBA.
And number 1,
LeBron James is number 3. Magic Johnson is number 4.
So it's Jordan.
Shaq is. So not only do they have arguably 3 of the top 3 Lakers in the top 4 Lakers, 3 Lakers in the top selling jerseys, top 10 selling jerseys of all time.
There you go. Where's Bird?
Actually, they have 4. So Kareem is number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq is number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Magic is number 4, and Kobe's number 2.
There you go.
Larry Bird is number 5.
Gotcha. I'm assuming Jordan's 1.
Yes, Jordan's number 1. The list is Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Magic, Bird, Shaq, Steph Curry, Julius Erving, and Allen Iverson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with Hakeem Olajuwon being number 11.
Iverson made the top 10, huh?
Iverson was.
Oh yeah, no, I know, but I wouldn't. I would have thought he would be in the teens. I didn't think he would have cracked the top 10, but okay.
The George Mikan jersey wasn't really available.
That's the one I would get.
If it was available, then that would have displaced Iverson.
I might get Elgin Baylor if I got a Lakers jersey. I'll be honest with you.
There you go.
I think I would get Mikan.
Mikan?
Yeah, why not?
Why the hell not?
Not Mickelson.
So you want Minnesota across the front of?
Well, Jerry West. Jerry West was drafted by Minnesota, but played his entire career in the Lakers in Los Angeles.
There you go. He drafted and they moved.
Yeah.
There you go. So, cool. There you go. All right.
Is that it?
Is it time? No, not yet. Not quite. Not quite. Not quite. We have an over/under to do.
Oh,
yeah!
How exciting!
So you have an over/under to do.
All right.
What's it over and what is it under?
So
I don't want to know.
Let's see.
What's the over/under tonight?
This is going to be very I don't know, educational, if nothing else, maybe.
Fair enough.
So to quote, or at least paraphrase, Chris Farley from one of the movies it was in where he played a fat guy or something. You may have noticed I have a little bit of a weight problem. So I've been checking my blood glucose level lately.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of on the cusp of the old type 2 diabetes.
Ooh, not good.
Yeah. And when I say cusp, kind of on the wrong side of the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Let me move this. Can you make my screen bigger?
Yes. Just get rid of me.
Because I want to try and get it.
I like that the over-under is during the hockey ice.
Want to try and get a good look at this.
So
I may have to move my camera.
That's not helpful.
That's you bigger.
Yeah.
I want me to be bigger.
Can you do that?
Can we? I have a request. Can we make all of us smaller, or can we put up pictures of like Bradley?
There we go.
There
all right.
Oh, you got to take a little test?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good view.
Are those your nipple clamps?
That was my backup.
All right.
So we got the monitor here. We got the torture device here.
Mm-hmm.
Got my a little test strips.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
There you go.
So what number are we looking at?
Well, let me see. I got a chart here. Let me pull up the chart for a second. Not that you guys will see it.
Have you guys tested yourself? Have you tested yourself recently within the last couple of days?
Oh yeah, I test myself a couple times every day.
And how big of a variant do you get?
Well, it depends on what I eat.
Sure.
And when I've eaten, if it's fasting or if it's you test myself fasting, and then a couple hours after a meal, 2 hours after a meal, you test it. So, could be anywhere from. So here's the regular levels for a normal person. Well, here's for fast. This is for a type 2 diabetic.
Okay.
Fasting would be 70 to 130.
Mm-hmm.
For a non-diabetic person would be, I think, under 100, and that's like a 10 or 12 hour fast.
Mm-hmm.
A couple hours after a meal would be under 180. Ideal is under 140. And then, that's about it.
So when did you eat last?
It's
gotta be at least a couple hours ago. Obviously, we've been doing.
Yeah,
this
no,
it
was it's around 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
Eastern time.
So 4 hours ago.
Yeah. So, but I don't want to. I don't want to say what I had because I don't want that to skew things.
Big bowl of sugar.
A couple of lollipops.
An entire pizza.
So here we have the Lancet. Another reason to hate the French.
Right.
And that goes into the torture stick thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Snaps in. There's a little spring in there, and that's the button you press. And then we take off the top.
Right.
Take off the round thing.
Lovely.
Throw that away.
Throw it away.
Put the top back on here.
Mm-hmm.
You have a depth gauge here. It goes from 5 to 1. That's how much the thing sticks. I just go 5 because you want to get some good blood. Then we have our test strips.
So we put a disclaimer on this this part of the
No
podcast.
one here is a doctor. So you have this part here that goes into the machine.
Right.
And then you have this little part here at the other end, which sucks up the blood. It's really cool. I'm hoping we can get a good shot of this.
I'm getting a little queasy.
So we put the thing in, and it blinks, so it's ready to go.
Right. I thought that little red. Obviously, that was from the camera, but I thought that little red thing, and there was like something was dancing on the screen.
No, it's a blood drop. It's blinking. It's like, feed me blood. Feed me blood. So.
Gotcha.
So just pick a finger, press the little thing on it like so,
Uh-huh.
and then you press the button,
right,
and it stabs me.
There you go.
I get a little drop of blood. You can see where I tested myself before. So now I'm just going to rub my finger a little bit.
Right.
You just need a little bit more. And now you just have to touch this part. You don't even really have to touch it. You just sort of put it near the blood.
Right.
See if I can get a good shot of this.
There you go.
And it kind of sucks it up. And
There
then
you
it
go.
counts down from 5 to 1. And then goes boop, boop, boop. There we go. 118.
Yeah.
Of course, I should have given you the number before we did that. But I was so enthralled with with watching the camera and trying to
do it again. Maybe it'll be different this time.
All right. So
I think it's going to be under 120.
You know what? Here's what we're going to do. Will it be the over-under is 118.5.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? Why don't you just make it 118? Will it be over or under? I see what you're saying. 118 and a half.
Yeah,
This way, if it's 118 again,
I'm going under.
All right. So he says it's going to be under.
I'm going over.
He's going over. Okay.
This is the strangest podcast ever.
All right. So let's.
I thought when he first did it, I thought he was going to actually how many Lancettes are in the bag. I thought
I was going to pick a number, but I got so involved in watching the camera to try and get a good thing. All right. So we'll do a little different finger today. Do it.
That's not a finger.
That's the finger I stuck under a lawnmower when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah, so it's dead. Okay.
So it's kind of So we stab. We got a little blood.
There you go.
We'll pump it up a little bit.
Barely
So
touch it too.
Under and over. Who said under? Harry said under.
Yeah, I said over.
Oh, need a little bit more.
Don't rig it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Boop, boop, boop. 124.
Whoa.
I win.
Damn.
All right.
Why do you think it went over this time?
Because it's not a
100% accurate.
Yeah.
You hit a 3-pointer in between the pricks.
Maybe. So I don't know.
When he before the show, when he said he was gonna showing us a prick for the overrun.
I hope you don't mind if I get my camera closer so I could show you my little prick.
Should we do it one more time?
No.
No.
Best of 3.
Best of 3. There you go.
So I would have probably picked 120.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I forgot to pick.
We got one
to pick the number, but
we got one over and one under.
Right.
So let's break the ice. Do one more.
How many Lancettes?
And I'm gonna go.
All right.
So it's 120, right, or 119?
He's gonna run out of blood.
120.5.
No, 120.
No, because it's either over or under. So if it's got to be 121 or 119 or
right,
I guess
right.
Tie goes. Well, it was 120. It was 124 and
119.
118.
118.
So 6. That was the 121 would be the middle of that.
121 and a half. Yeah.
All right. So 121 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I won't show you the process, but I'll show you the results.
That'll work.
I'm going over this time.
He's going over.
I'm going under.
Okay.
I'm going under.
He's going on.
121 and a half.
121 and a half.
All right. Stab. Bleed. Vampire gadget suck. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boop, boop, boop.
Whoa!
38.
Oh.
Fuck me. Jesus
Pete, don't do it again.
So
I think he must have farted before the first one.
There you go. I don't know. That's weird. So there we go. So it's somewhere.
So now, did you do that? Which finger did you do it on that time?
That was the index finger.
That was the index finger. Which one did you do it the first time?
Ring finger.
Ring finger. Okay. So keep
every
in mind.
finger closer to your thumb.
So if you do it on your thumb right now, it's going to be like 260.
Well, now I'm curious about that.
Oh, he's going to do it a fourth time.
One more time.
Like, his wife's going to say, how did you run out of these lancets this quick? What the hell are you doing?
No way, man. These things come like 600 in a package.
There you go. That's why you didn't do it, because you've been sitting there counting them all night.
That's right. How many lancets in a bag?
Right.
All right, let's do one more. So should I do the thumb this time?
Do the thumb. You got to do the thumb. See if it holds true, because it's gotten higher each time. So you got to do the.
It's going to be over or under 134.
I think it's going to be over 138. Obviously,
it's going to be over. Yeah.
Right. So.
All right. Let's do one more.
What the hell?
3, 2, 1, 0.
Let's see, and it is.
Whoa!
127.
So
we have
scintillating television.
Next week, I don't even need to be here. You guys can just do this.
We'll just do this for 2.5 hours.
Way more interesting than the top 10 Seattle Supersonics of all time.
I think we should do the Seattle Supersonics of all time.
So maybe we've discovered that these little meters are wildly inaccurate.
Well, I mean, it's all within like 16.
Within 20
it's all within
points, right?
50-60%.
It's actually within 20 points.
It's all about ball bearings these days.
So 118 versus 138. What was the other one? 127 and
124. It was 118, 124, 137, and then 127.
All right.
So there you go. Well,
so those are all below 140. Which
they're all below 140, and there you go.
I'd only eaten 2 hours ago. That was so a little high for where I should be, but not too terrible, I guess.
There you go. All right. Well,
I'm kind of new to this diabetes thing.
There you go. Well, hopefully it doesn't get any worse, and you keep it in check, and you keep it where it is, and we're good to go.
Stop drinking, eating sugar, basically.
Stop drinking sugar.
Stop drinking. Well, go with the.
Well, drinking is kind of drinking sugar.
This is true. Depends on what you're drinking.
Especially beer.
Is it water?
Yeah, that's just it.
Alcohol.
No alcohol. I drink the zero sugar soda, which I don't really have. I buy one when I go shopping, so once a week I have.
They have this stuff called water, which is pretty healthy.
I have water right here.
There you
go. A lot of that.
I finished my beer and I was just drinking one of these. So.
There you go. And no sugar in my coffee anymore.
No sugar, calorie free, 100% natural. There you go. So that was good.
Yeah, terrible coffee.
Refreshingly natural, it says.
Coffee is horrible without sugar and milk.
I've been drinking my coffee black. Since
no, black coffee's good.
18.
Good to go, yeah.
Come on.
Disgusting. All right. Well,
anyway,
listen.
Right.
Next week I'll
think of the even more disgusting topic.
Next week
will be your rectal temperature.
No, next week I'll. Actually, yeah. No, that'll be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to chug one of these right at the beginning of the show, and at the end of the show, we'll measure my urine output.
All right. It's been good being with you guys. Signing off on my final show.
Gotta love it. We got so many show opens from tonight. That's this is great.
And one closer.
And one really good closer. There you
go. The StreamYard bat phone is ringing. You guys are done.
Yeah. No pun intended with StreamYard.
We're good. Hey, if you want to see a StreamYard,
that's right.
You tune in next week.
That's actually not. That's how far you can piss. So we're gonna have a yardstick out. We're gonna have like a 10-yard line and a 5-yard line and a 3-yard line, and see how far you can go.
For distance, we're going for this. Yeah. So the
it's
more
like
you drink, the more power you got behind it. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Just
I would
drink
say
throughout
it's a direct correlation. The longer you piss, the higher your diabetes meter.
Actually, what I want to do is I want him to drink about 3 gallons of water at the very beginning of the show, and then see how long we can keep him on camera without having to get up to go to the bathroom. That's what I want to see.
He's got so much shit in that room that he could probably piss under the table without any of us knowing.
I may have a tube attached to my schlong right now. You don't know.
Yeah. It's for other reasons, but that's part of his that's part of his secret OnlyFans cam.
Right. That we can't see,
That's
but
right.
you can for only $9.95.
You can if you're a subscriber to.
Depending on what you want to pay, it depends.
Right.
Decides what comes out the other end.
There you go. All right. All right. I think that's a good note to wrap up the show on tonight. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, it's not over? We're still on the air?
We're still on the air, yeah. Anyway, all right. On that interesting note, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, I'm terribly sorry.
Good for you.
You're missing the show, folks.
No, you're the smart ones.
Absolutely.
You should know, but should ever watch this.
Exactly.
No,
Anyway,
true.
thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all the shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep your fingers crossed that the Players Association and Major League Baseball sign an agreement soon.
But
Either way, but don't hold your breath, yes. And we look forward to entertaining you next week as well. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, hosts. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.